All right, everybody. Good evening from wherever you may be. I'm Jared Smith in Charleston, South Carolina, and we are going to be talking with James Brierton on the ground at the NASA SpaceX Falcon 9 Crew-6 launch. He was part of the NASA social team to go there, and it's and it's going to be really cool. We're going to be here through the launch. With any luck, we'll be able to get this puppy off the ground and it'll be quite a show for James and his new friends down there. So yeah, let me just bring James right into the conversation here. So we'll just add you to the list. So James, you got your bus peeps?
Yes, Jared, I'm here with all my bus peeps at Kennedy Space Center here in Florida for the Crew-6 launch. We're a part of the NASA social event. We've been live tweeting on our Twitter accounts, and you'll get to meet some of our new friends here who have been using their own social media platforms to just rave about space this week. We are currently waiting for the astronauts to come out of their quarters here. You've seen this with all of the previous crew missions and the demo missions that NASA and SpaceX have done. They'll come out and wave to their families before getting in Teslas to go down to the launch pad. And so in a few moments, we anticipate getting off this bus to get to witness that ourselves. And just in the last 2 minutes or so, additional buses rolled up with police escort that would appear to be the family of the astronauts, Jared.
Yes, I remember when I did this for STS-135 back in 2011, they decidedly did not use Teslas. I'm pretty sure it was the same bus they used for the Apollo program. But
Elon Musk
similar.
was not going to be using the old Apollo bus. Matter of fact, they are using new Tesla X models for today's drive out to the pad.
Very, very cool. So and I'm honestly surprised he hasn't made you guys rename NASA Social and NASA Tweet Up again, but that's
I know you did this for the last shuttle mission, and when you did that, NASA called them Tweet Ups in the press office today where we checked in, and I almost snuck you a picture. There was still a sign that said Tweet Up registration here.
Nice. That's great. So hey, legends never die. But but yeah, James, we've been in this. You've been down here a couple days now. Kind of, you've gotten to experience a lot. You've gotten to talk to a lot of folks. I think what I want to do real quick before we get into all that is I just want to kind of tell people what we're going to do tonight. So,
sure.
So first of all, again, welcome everybody. We're watching on the Carolina Weather Group, or if you're watching on WCNC Plus, we're very happy to have you for coverage this evening. If you're watching us on WCNC Plus, know that about 11 o'clock Eastern, we'll dip you out to the local news, to the WCNC news at 11. But then you'll rejoin our coverage right at around 11:30. So you will not miss the launch just because the news is on. The launch is around 1:45 a.m. or so, give or take a little time. So we'll be watching that closely. But for those of you watching us on WCNC Plus, welcome. If you're watching us in the Carolina Weather Group, welcome. If you're new to us, we are a podcast primarily about weather in the Carolinas, but we also talk about science and technology. And as you can see here, space launches is a big thing that we love to do.
There's a Venn diagram here between weather and space nerds, especially where it intersects when it comes to launch weather. And the launch weather is looking beautiful for tonight. So again, that launch at 1:45 a.m., I'm going to go ahead and call it tonight. And the weather is looking great for today. Tomorrow on their backup window, not so much. So we're hoping everything goes smoothly tonight. Jared, if you could go ahead and pop up that live picture of the launch complex, we can go ahead and show people that the rocket is out there on the pad here at Kennedy Space Center.
Well, it has changed.
It has video changed. Okay, we'll get that looked at, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So
well, that's okay. We have a piece of videotape. So as a part of the NASA social, we've been riding this bus around the complex for the past 2 days, getting to see a lot of things that are not normally open to the public, or at least not normally a part of the normal Kennedy Space Center visitor complex tour. So why don't we take you out to our first piece of video tonight, which was our stop at the launch complex, and we'll kind of give you the lay of the land.
Yep, I'm going to get you out there here in just a second here, as we have them all over the place tonight. We've got a whole lot of fun stuff out here to show you. So let's get that going here. I am struggling. All right, there it goes. It didn't. I'm having some technical issues.
Find that piece of video. We have lots of videos. So we're going to take you inside the VAB, the Vehicle Assembly Building. We're going to get to meet some astronauts. We got to actually ask some questions of some astronauts during the Q&A panel just yesterday. And so we have lots of video that Jared's going to have for you over the course of the next 4 hours.
Yep. All right. And so here we go. So here is James at the launch pad. Obviously, this was recorded earlier. And yeah, we will take it away right here.
Out here at Launch Complex 39A, SpaceX has built its own vehicle assembly building. They no longer utilize the crawler path all the way out here to the launch complex from NASA's vehicle assembly building. They'll use that structure behind us to construct the Falcon 9 rocket with the Dragon capsule on it first horizontally. They'll pull it out and then turn it vertical, which is different than how NASA does it, where they put everything vertically together in the VAB, and then they'll bring it out to the launch complex behind us. That launch complex, you can see, is protected by a lightning rod that is atop the complex, helps protect the vehicle from any of those pesky Florida thunderstorms. The vehicle itself right now is still on the launch complex behind us, but just slightly out of view because it's actually being held up right now by an arm that will move out of way in time to carry Crew-6 safely up to space. Also out here at the launch complex will be home to SpaceX's Starship. That's the separate tower that is still under construction here behind us.
All right, and that was James Brierton out at the launch pad, launch complex there, showing you the SpaceX building that's there. That was new. That was obviously wasn't there before. So
not only is it new, Jared, it's actually on the crawler path. So later on in the broadcast tonight, we're going to go inside the crawler that they use for Apollo and continue to use for Artemis and SLS. But at the SpaceX complex, they built their assembly building right on the crawler path. So that crawler path is now a road to nowhere.
Wow, that's new. Yeah, no, I didn't realize that. That's quite wild. Man, yeah, how things have changed out there. So it looks like we will be having at some point we'll have Candace Jordan with us from the Shield Museum in Gastonia, North Carolina. So we will be speaking with her. I think she's there. Let me bring her into the. Oh, there you go. I thought it was just Sometimes I don't know why it looks like I don't know why sometimes it looks like just an icon there. Hey, Candace, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing tonight?
Good.
Candace
all getting ready for already.
Candace looks like she's up in space.
I know. I was beat you to there. Sorry. I'm already here.
You got an earlier one.
I'm already at Jupiter, so no big deal.
Well, Candace, one of the things I wanted to tell our viewers, and your presence reminded me that these NASA social events are amazing and they're open to anybody. So you just have to watch NASA's Twitter account for when they put out the application. I think you should sign up for one of those.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Definitely a lot of fun. How's it down there in Florida?
It's great. The weather is great. We are currently on the bus. We are waiting to witness the astronaut walkout, which will come any moment. We have a helicopter coming overhead right now that I presume is part of either security and or NASA television. We actually got a chance earlier in the week during our tour of Kennedy Space Center to go to the hangar where NASA keeps all their helicopters, which they use for medevac purposes, security purposes, and of course they had one that looked like your classic news helicopter with the big stabilizer camera on the front. So as we were going through the broadcast tonight and we see some of those aerial shots, that's presumably where those will be coming from, guys.
Awesome. As we wait for some of the astronauts to come out, I know Woody Hoberg is one of the astronauts that'll be going up. And I believe this is his first time in space. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it's his first round. But he is one of the Artemis astronaut candidates. So I know later this year, they're hoping to announce like who's going to be the first ones on the moon. So he is one of the candidates. So that's kind of exciting to watch.
Lots of buzz here this weekend about Crew-6 and the launch that we're anticipating seeing tonight. But of course, lots more buzz about Artemis 2 and Artemis 3. So we actually will hear some new insights about that mission coming up here in a little bit. We got to talk to the Kennedy Space Center director, Janet Petro, about what she thinks about the Artemis mission as the security helicopter passes overhead again here. We're sitting inside a bus, guys, with our NASA social peeps. Now, Candace, I know they're at the Science Museum and Planetarium, where you are the director of the planetary operations. You teach a lot about science to the kids, space science to the kids. And we've been learning a lot here myself about a lot of the science that happens on the International Space Station. In a few minutes, I want to share with our viewers some of what we learned about what they're doing in terms of plants. on the International Space Station now, looking ahead to the missions to Moon and to Mars. But I'm just wondering, Candace, what is it that you tell visitors, maybe first-time visitors, to the Shield Museum about the International Space Station?
I think one of my most favorite things to tell people is they whiz around the Earth. And so they're going around the Earth about once every hour and a half. So that means they get to see 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets a day. So like, way to screw up your biological clock there, right? But it's really neat. They actually go over about 90% of the world's population based on their orbital path. So they get to see a large chunk of the world. We get to view that along with them, because you can go on NASA's website and live stream what the International Space Station is doing right now. But yeah, super, super cool.
Yeah, not only do they have to adjust their biological clocks for life on the International Space Station, where they'll spend approximately 6 months, but they have to adjust their biological clock for tonight, right? So they're going to launch at 1:45. That's just like the peak of their day. They had a whole routine they had to go through earlier. So since coming out of quarantine, where they were at Kennedy Space Center in Houston, which, by the way, that's just a normal part of space flight, has nothing to do with pandemics, they've been adjusting their body clock so that they could be completely operational for tonight's flight. Now, I imagine they'll sneak in a little bit of a nap, because between 1:45 p.m. takeoff and arrival tomorrow. I'll be right back with you guys.
The families have not.
All right. It sounds like it sounds like that we're going to have. It sounds like James was having a bit of an announcement there. I'm going to keep him in the corner here, and we'll and we'll just chat.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that that we saw during the week. I know we had the press conference yesterday, kind of the Q&A with the NASA social folks, and it really is impressive how this is all a build up really to Artemis 2. This is all of these missions fulfill an important purpose for Artemis 2. I mean, we're gonna have videos coming up talking about how they're gonna grow food, experiments with plants and things like that. I would love let's dive in with the audience a little bit. Just it's like, just how do these missions really pave the way?
Yeah, so we got Artemis 1 last year, so that was like November to December. Artemis 1 launched, went around the moon. We got some impressive shots of like the moon up close. I like to call it the family portrait, where it's Earth in the background. So we kind of paved the way of like, okay, we did it with Apollo, check. We can do it again with Artemis, check. So now it's like, okay, we're gonna try to start sending humans. And then once we get Artemis going, we're doing all these studies on the International Space Station, where we've got microgravity, so kind of like really low gravity experiences. And then we've got commercial partners like SpaceX and others that are going to help deliver payloads and such. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to try to build this thing called Gateway around the moon. And so what that'll do is kind of imagine like the International Space Station, but for the moon. And so this here will allow them to attach new rooms. So kind of like how we've been able to build up the International Space Station through the years and through the decades. What we're doing is you can add a compartment. They're going to do this with Gateway. And this will hopefully kind of set the stage for a semi-permanent lunar colony? Question mark. Hopefully that works out. This is all kind of like in the future, but Artemis 2 is really going to kind of take us there. Like, let's put humans back on the moon. Can we send commercial stuff? Can we send payloads? Can we eventually get it to where they're not just going there for a second, they're going there for, a little while, where you're starting to stay a little longer. Like the International Space Station, this crew that's launching tonight is going to be up there for about 6 months. So that's kind of what we hope for the moon. And, one day lunar travel might just be a rich person's vacation, It won't be for me, but
Yeah, it might. Hopefully, it works out a little bit better than the scenario they showed in Airplane 2, the sequel. So, and I might be throwing that back a little too far there, but that's going to be really fantastic. So, what we're going to do is, I mentioned that there is, that there is a lot of, we've been talking about some of the research that's being done, and one of those particular things is growing plants, growing food, things like that. So James was able to stop by the plant lab out there at Kennedy Space Center, and we are going to bring you that video right now. Actually, we had some questions about that from the Q&A yesterday. Excuse me. The questions about that from the Q&A yesterday, and so yeah, we're going to go out to that right now.
Hi, Shay Saldana here. Question for you. Can you go over the importance of plant-based research currently being conducted in space using systems such as veggie and X-roots?
I'm going to try and do a really quick overview of all the different plant growing systems that we have on board right now. I mentioned the bricks. Those are biological research in canisters. We put small plants in petri dishes sometimes. We have a system called veggie. Veggie is an expandable, collapsible container with lights to grow plants in, and we're doing a lot of our crop production research in veggie to start off. We're trying to understand are the fruits and vegetables as nutritional as earth-grown varieties, and we're allowing the astronauts to sample those now, which is a great addition to their diet. But we also have X-roots. X-roots, or sorry, I should go back to veggie. In veggie, we grow the seeds or the seedlings of the plants in little pillows. So you can think of it as being typical growth medium. In X-roots, which is also another plant growth chamber, that is specifically for aeroponics and hydroponics. So there the root systems are growing in clear chambers, and they're given food medium to grow. We're also looking at that for many different vegetable varieties, and of course the nutritional value in those. And then lastly, we've got a plant growth chamber on orbit called the plant habitat. And the advanced plant habitat is really the motherlode of plant research on ISS. In that chamber, you can control the atmospheric qualities, the carbon dioxide concentration, the light, exactly how much light it's getting, exactly how much wind is on the crops. And really what we're getting at in that research facility is how are crops going to grow in maybe different environments on the moon or on Mars. We're really trying to understand the basis of those crop systems in different areas.
Utilize these chambers that can mimic the CO2, humidity, and temperature of a space cabin-like environment, as well as the LED lighting, which is very important to add. Microgreens are very small plants that are grown in a lawn similar to the grass in your yard. You've seen them on fancy plates in restaurants on top of your salmon. So I think what's interesting is we'll be able to utilize the work that we do here to expand the amount of foods that are available to the astronauts to eat in the future, so that we can alleviate menu fatigue, because we don't want them to get tired of what they're eating.
One of the plant growth systems we have on ISS is called the Advanced Plant Habitat, or the APH. And the experiments that go on there are called the pH experiments. So Plant Hab 01, pH 01 grew Arabidopsis, pH 02 grew space radishes, pH 03 is growing right now, growing Arabidopsis in two generational grow outs. So they'll grow Arabidopsis out till the flowers and seeds come out, collect them, bring them back to Earth, pack another science carrier, and then launch them again to do a multi-generational study to see how the genetics are affected during growth.
So is there anything that NASA has developed in here for space that people use at home now that they may not realize in their home gardening was first invented for space?
I think if you look at some of the startup companies that are trying to do autonomous plant growing systems for their consumer, they use a combination of smartphones with AI, very basic AI scripts. They use hydroponic systems, and they use the lighting in an integrated fashion. That's pretty much what we've done.
All right, and we are looking at video now of the Crew-6 astronauts waving goodbye to everybody, getting on the elevator and
Getting on the elevator. It's a very important elevator ride. Oh, wait, the elevator door just opened back up.
and
Psych, we'll try that again.
he's holding it for somebody. I guess somebody is missing their is missing it, but we will we're going to get back to that here very
They're gonna
shortly.
come outside right in front of me here in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah. So
Nice.
James is gonna get a good look at them. We'll go back to NASA TV once they currently have put the camera on the ground there. So James, tell me a little bit about what you're seeing out there right now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised the camera's on the ground. I too have been told I have to keep this in selfie mode for the next few minutes. So we're out here again near the headquarters building for NASA on the Kennedy Space Center grounds. The family just came off a bus here in the next few minutes. The Teslas are lined up because remember, SpaceX, owned by Elon Musk, also owned by Teslas. They've been using the Teslas here since the demo missions to take the astronauts out to the launch complex. So the Teslas are all lined up in front of me. There's of course a security escorted military style vehicle that will ride out with them. You will be seeing that on camera here in the next few minutes. There's at least 2 aerial things overhead keeping a close eye on this because again, this is a very important operation to keep protected. So we're just waiting here in the next few minutes as you guys are for this event to come on out. Again, because of those quarantine protocols, you're not going to see any kissing or hugging. You're going to see some waving. We have seen on some past astronaut walkouts where after the astronauts get into the Teslas, that sometimes family come over to the windows. So we'll wait to see if anyone decides to do that here too. Again, remember, these are the new Tesla X models for those people who like cars.
No, that's pretty. No, that's pretty cool. And so yeah, so we're just gonna wait and see here. I got to, as I mentioned before, I got to witness one of these, and it was watch them ride the old bus down the road. Certainly, we're not using Teslas. Yeah, the Astro van. Yes, they were not using Teslas. I can tell you that for sure. Not in 2011. They were not using any Astro vans. So let me. I'm going to switch us back to the NASA TV view here. So we're taking a look now at.
That's exactly what I am looking at for the record and for the perspective of our viewers. I am screen right.
Yep. So there you go. Yeah, so there's your Teslas right there. There's your Humvee. There's your guys with machine guns to protect all this. This is important. I think that I think it's we keep in mind. Yeah, this is kind of important.
So Jared, they're going to come walking out. If I got my bearings right, center screen. You can kind of see the dark blue bunting there, the 2 NASA logos, the meatballs, the circle on the wall. Just thank you to whoever at NASA TV switch camera angles. There it is. So they're going to come walking out those doors there in a moment.
Yep. So we're just going to keep it on these doors. Looks like they've got that here, and we will get that out on there shortly. So, yeah. So
before we get too far away from that video we played a few minutes ago about the plant, I will again mention that a lot of the science that goes on in the International Space Station and the NASA program has trickled down to at home. Here come the astronauts.
Here they are.
All right, the cloud is clapping here. You can see they're lined up in a row, waving to their friends and family. The doors now coming up on the Teslas in that very sci-fi style that I'm sure Elon Musk was going for. And you can see they're going to walk the line now again. This is where their friends and family have come to say goodbye to them one more time, although they actually will have an opportunity to make one more phone call when they get out to the launch complex.
So there they are. Yeah, they're waving goodbye. And, I think another thing too, we've seen a lot of these walkouts over the years, but these spacesuits, very futuristic looking.
They're very sleek looking. You can tell,
right?
Just very clean, sleek, modern, futuristic. Yeah, they're wonderful.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to double box this so we can get James's perspective in here too. So you got NASA TV in one box, we've got James's perspective in another, and obviously we're trying to kind of get in position there a little bit better to see what we can see. But yeah, this is this is an exciting thing. It's like they're about to.
Can you see in my view all of my fellow NASA social participants, all who have their phones out here?
Yes, I can. Absolutely. Yeah, this
is like the red carpet of space launches right now.
It is like the red carpet of space launches. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Who are you wearing? I'm wearing Musk.
I'm also driving Musk too.
Yeah.
Is that extra audio we're hearing, Jared, the mission control audio?
I'm not sure. Actually, that's a good question. Actually, it might be. Yeah, there might be some sort of audio going on the phone bridge. So we are also listening in on the mission control kind of crosstalk there. So we will have some of that coming in as well. We have that on another feed. And so we're just gonna leave that there, and it may jump in on us. So again, James is back out here. Looks like I'm rather impressed with some of the rigs of your fellow NASA socialites.
Yes, I think you'll get to talk. This is Holly. You'll get to talk to
Cool.
her later, hopefully.
Cool.
You can see she's waving at you here.
Yeah.
She's got 2 or 3 cameras going on out here.
Wow.
That's good.
So again, the drive is going to take about 15 minutes to get over to the launch complex. Once they get going, they'll be escorted out there by security. And just to give our viewers an expectation, as the astronauts are heading up to the launch complex, we're then going to get back in our bus, and we're going to go over to our location, which is located near the press site. We have a big historic countdown clock in the vehicle assembly building. More on the vehicle assembly building coming up later on the broadcast as well. We got the inside of it this weekend. Incredible building.
Yeah, and what's up?
The headlights. Here come the headlights.
Okay. Yep.
The astronauts are still on the line here.
Mm-hmm.
There's no sound. There's no sound here. There's no sound on TV either. You can't really hear what they're saying. Of course, you also have the reporters who are lined up, and it seems that we are getting the one last wave here as the astronauts now climb into their Teslas. We have 3 of them. So we have 4 astronauts on today's mission, Crew-6 mission here to the International Space Station. I'm not sure who rides double and who's riding shotgun, but we have 3 Teslas.
I'm sure there's a reason behind that, but it, just like as an outsider looking in, you're just like, why not have a 4th?
Yeah, who has to ride with somebody else?
Probably a ranked thing, if I had to guess.
We have 2 Americans.
They drew straws in the elevator. You got the short straw.
Yeah, we have 2 Americans. We have 1 from United Arab Emirates and 1 from Russia. So you guys probably had a better view than me of whether they all got in one or what, but we'll stick maybe with that NASA TV feed here in a moment, as we expect that we will be pulling out moderately right in front of us here, actually, in the next minute or so.
Yeah, James, the focus, NASA TV is focusing on 2 of them.
Okay.
So it makes me wonder if maybe support staff or something are riding along in a 3rd.
Well, speaking of support staff, there's also support astronauts out here, because I can see back up near the doorway with the ramp where they came down, at least 2 individuals dressed in blue jumpsuits. I can't tell from here who they are, but they seem to be in the uniforms of American astronauts.
Yeah, NASA TV had a little zoom in on them recently, and oftentimes what you're going to have with these, with these kinds of arrangements is you have a backup crew. If you have somebody who gets sick, if you have somebody who is, unable to fulfill the mission, you'll have that backup crew that will essentially train right next to them. I'm not sure if they do that for the Dragons or not. They probably do, though. It's a pretty time-tested. So. I would hope so. It's a pretty straightforward. It's a pretty straightforward thing to do, and so it looks like family members are getting the final goodbyes in before they head down to the launch pad and get ready to get into the Crew Dragon capsule.
I will say it's like for all the sports fans out there, it's like having 2 quarterbacks on a team. You have your primary, but then like if something happens to the primary, your secondary can fill in really quickly, and that's kind of what they have there. They have those backup astronauts that train and do everything that the main astronauts are doing. And they're right there just in case they need to fill in last quarter. Here we go.
Yep, and they'll get a mission of their own later. That's.
I'm seeing a thumbs up.
All right.
Somebody down there just gave a thumbs up. Right, Greg? That must be a good thing, right? A thumbs up. Oh, well, here come the flashing lights. So I'm going to flip this forward here for you guys. All right, we seem to be on the move now.
Yep. So there's the security detail doing its thing.
Cheer from staff, friends, and family gathered and waving. I guess I should wave too, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Guys, I just got waved at by an astronaut.
How special do you feel right now?
I kind of feel like I'm dreaming right now, honestly, Candace. Like I'm gonna wake up and find out later that this was all a dream.
That's how it was. That's how it was at 1:35. Yeah, it was very much the same way.
NASA TV will provide you some aerials because the helicopter that we got to see and sit in the other day just went overhead. And I know that's got a camera on board because I touched
Yep. And the aerial is showing up now. It looks like we're getting a few different views. Looks like we're getting a view from the Tesla. It looks like we're getting a view from the aerial.
I think that dash cam was introduced during Crew-5. All right, guys, I'm running back to the bus. So if I drop out, I'll see you at the press site.
Sounds good. All right. So we'll have James get back on the bus there as we kind of watch him get back on the bus. Let me get that. Zoom. So, oh, whoops. I hit the wrong button there.
I can still see them. They're pulling around the corner now. They're gonna go out of view here momentarily. But again, this drive should take about 15 minutes or so. This is
cool.
A sprawling complex.
Yeah, it's not small by any stretch of the imagination.
No, and again, there's a public tour, visitor complex here at Kennedy Space Center. You can come learn all about space and science. You get to drive around and see a lot of these places. But this NASA social thing that I'm on today, guys, anyone in the public can apply. And it's not just people with 1 million followers. It's not just space nerds. We've got a whole mix of people here. So again, anyone who wants this opportunity, I would say keep an eye out on NASA's Twitter. Okay, now I'm getting back in the bus. Back to you, Jared.
All righty. Enjoy your ride, and we will come to you when when you go in there. So in the meantime, we've got an aerial view right now. The Tesla is making the way out to the launch pad. You got me, Jared Smith, Candace Jordan joining us from the Shield Museum out in Gastonia, spending some time with us on a school night. Thank you so much, Candace, for joining us. And again, we're about at 10:35. So here's where we're at. We're driving out to the launch pad right now. They're going to, they strap everybody in. There's a lot of checks, still a lot of work to do to get this thing off the ground. We're going to have we have a ton of stuff. James has been here for the last couple days. It has just been absolutely unbelievable. So he sent us a ton of video, and we're going to run as much of that as we can here over the next little bit. James is going to head out to where they're going to view the launch from. So that's going to be very exciting for them. And we'll be talking with him and several of the NASA social participants in the course of the next few hours. And with any luck, around 12:55 or so, the International Space Station will make a pass. And I believe we may try to contact them. We'll see if the hams can whip something up. They have the amateur radio operators, and there's an amateur radio station on the International Space Station. So we're going to see if we can make contact. And then at 1:45, they'll light that candle, and Crew Dragon will be off to the races, heading up to the space station. So
I always like to think of it as the dragon is breathing fire.
Oh, that's much better. See that? Yeah, that's a lot better. It is, and it's it's a heck of a spacecraft. I remember the first time I saw a Crew Dragon, I saw the inside of that, and it was like, oh wow, this is not your NASA lowest bidder thing here. This is a very different beast altogether. And you can see it in the space suits.
Oh yeah, we were talking about just how futuristic, the spacesuits look. They're very lots of white, so they're very clean looking and just sleek. I don't know, that's the words that come to mind for me. And so but I also kind of like it too, because it is International Space Station. We're bringing international folks there. It's it looks very clean. It's you can't tell who's the American versus this. Everybody's just all in one here, and that's kind of nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the space transcends those political boundaries at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that is that's what makes this great. That's what makes the space program so important and so great, in that we can do that. And it's just a cool thing. So let me so I'm trying to listen to see if there's any audio from Mission Control. We can see here in the top left, we have the view from the dash cam and some aerial views of the astronauts heading down towards the launch pad there right now. So again, large escort for that, for obvious reasons. You want to be safe with that. You don't want to run into any issues. In the meantime, also, we're listening in for anything from Mission Control. We have that audio feed going, and we're going to have that audio feed going as long as we can. And while we wait, I see James on the bus here as well. He's back on the bus, so on his way there. Let me see. Yeah.
I can talk on the bus as long as I
Yeah.
still have the connection if you want.
Yeah.
I even have a
let's,
light so I don't look orange. Hang on.
Oh, you're fine. There you go. So back on the bus. So James, you guys are headed now out to the place where you're going to watch this thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we're going to be adjacent to the press site where the countdown clock was. It's next to the vehicle assembly building, which they have used to assemble everything from Apollo through Artemis. One of the things I wanted to ask Candace about before I forgot, and spoiler alert, Candace, I just forwarded you an email on this too, was we talked about the plant research they're doing on the International Space Station.
Yeah.
Biology research as well.
Yeah. So one of the things they're doing is some like tissue research on like the heart, the brain, some cartilage functioning, and just kind of seeing how all that is going. One of the things I really like is they're gonna basically take some like microorganisms and like release them and see how far they go into space, which I think is really neat. So we're kind of doing a lot of biology there. And one of the overall missions of doing biology in microgravity is because eventually we want to, take large biology people here to the moon. And we want to understand how we function, how microorganisms function, how does bacteria function on the moon. So yeah, International Space Station is like the way to go to get this kind of process started.
Yeah, and I think that's so interesting, right? So we have this International Space Station. It's been up there almost for a while now, to the point where, for better or for worse, we almost take it for granted. And it's going to be up there until 2030. There are plans to then transition it over to a more commercial structure, like they have done for the launches here, right? This is a SpaceX launch via contract with NASA. But the things that are happening right now on today's generation space station are going to help us with future space flights. And as we learned during that plant story, they trickle down to everyday life, right? Everyone kind of knows that like Velcro came out of NASA, right? But like if you are like my wife and you have one of those little indoor like hydroponic things, they're doing a lot of that here at NASA too. It's a lot of that same technology.
Yeah, so a lot of the technologies that we have nowadays, just in general, have either spurred from military uses or, like space exploration uses. So just like you said, like the Velcro. One of the really cool inventions they're working on right now is it's called the Gecko Bot. And it's supposed to help install so how Velcro, is really nice and neat. It doesn't leave that adhesive glue everywhere and such. Well, the Gecko Bot is going to use the powers that a gecko can use to like climb up a wall, but they don't have like this like gooey residue and stuff. So a lot of our inspiration actually comes from biology. So we're looking at things like lemurs and geckos and other things like animals that have perfected it on Earth. And how can we take that technology and put it into like robots and rovers and use that in space?
I'm listening to an announcement. I'll be with you guys a second.
But one of the really cool things is that we're able to take things to the International Space Station with our partners like SpaceX. We're making this even cheaper to do than it was before. So I know James says, we've been on the International Space Station for a while. So it's actually been occupied since November of 2000. So, we're well over 22 years of experience in the International Space Station, which also a fun fact that I like to give everyone. Not everybody on the world has been on the world for 22 years. All right. The last time we've had every human on Earth was pre-November 2000. So that's kind of just fun to think about that, there's always been someone off the Earth since November 2000.
That is really cool as we continue to look at these live pictures as these four men head out to the launch complex here to join that list of people that Candace was just referencing. We want to get to know some of the astronauts who are taking place in today's trip, which is why we're going to have Jared here get ready to play a little piece that NASA put together. Stephen Bowen, who is the commander of this Crew-6 mission, and NASA has provided us a little biographical piece about him as he heads out to the launch pad. Jared, play the tape.
The greatest things we accomplish as human beings, we do as teams. My name is Steve Bowen. I am the spacecraft commander of NASA's SpaceX Crew-6 mission to the International Space Station. I was born in Cohasset, Massachusetts. It's a small town on the coast just south of Boston. I had 5 brothers and sisters. I was the 5th of 6, and it was really sort of an idyllic childhood. When I was getting ready to choose where applying for colleges, I had the good enough grades and I got an appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy, so I studied electrical engineering. I'd done a summer cruise, and the reason I ended up doing the summer cruise on submarines was because the ideas interested me. The whole concept of running a nuclear power plant underwater and operating at sea. And so after graduation, I spent 14 years in the submarine force before I applied to become an astronaut. I never had, grand plans of growing up and becoming an astronaut, but I never did anything to preclude that either, based on how I managed to get here. It was just curiosity and enthusiasm. I remember on STS-132, I think it was on my first spacewalk on that mission, and there I was overlooking the International Space Station as we're circling the Earth. The whole world spread out below me, and all I could think of is, what kind of civilization is this? I grew up carrying buckets of cement, and here I am on top of the International Space Station circling the Earth as we're doing research, really to make the world a better place. And we're doing it as a team. We're doing it as an international team. It was eye-opening. I mean, it's not something I didn't necessarily understand, but it really becomes obvious in a moment like that. And that was absolutely amazing to me. I view myself really as a rookie for the International Space Station, because I was always there basically as a construction worker. This time I'm actually getting the opportunity to operate and to be a part of the science and be a part of the ISS operations. That's all new to me, and I'm really looking forward to being a part of all of that. And hopefully my bit of spaceflight experience that I've brought along with me, I can help everybody else settle in and step into these operations. I have a most amazing crew. I'll say this for all 3 of my crew members because they're actually all pretty amazing individuals. They each have distinct personalities that add so much to the crew. That ability to function as a group is absolutely amazing. And when you accomplish something as a team, there is no greater feeling.
Go. All right, and that was a really cool spot about the commander of this mission, Steve Bowen. We now have a look. The astronauts are arriving at the rocket right now. You can see that in the corner here in NASA TV, and James is still en route to his final location to watch the launch. And we have Candace Jordan with us here through about 11 o'clock tonight. So. So at this stage, the Teslas, they got there pretty fast, which you would expect with that, with those EVs, and they're getting ready to get into the rocket now. So pretty cool view out there for sure. I did have a really good question. We have a viewer question here that I'm going to pop up here, and so will we be able to see this from the South Carolina coast? That is an interesting question. Probably not, as I recall, because it's going to be making pretty much a due east trajectory, as I understand it.
I think that's right, Jared, because we're also not going to have the benefit of a sunrise or a sunset to backlight it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of like dead of night, so there's no sun.
I didn't hear the update there, but I'm assuming they said they're at the pad.
They're on the pad. They are on the pad, and they remain on schedule. So that is an update right from Mission Control there, and we'll be dipping in and out of that every
What we're going to want to watch for is for the 4 of them to go up to their new home and look up at it. It's a tradition, but they have to lean all the way back because of the way the suit and the helmet is. In order to actually look up, they have to physically arch their backs backwards. So that's going to kind of be our next milestone here.
Yeah. So as you can see again in the top corner there, yeah, we're gonna wait for that. And
I think we should have just enough time if we want to go over to the other piece here about the pilot of this Crew-6.
Yeah, let's do that.
And then we'll cut back over if they come out in between. But that'll give me enough time to get off the bus and give them enough time to get out of their tests.
Yep. So we will be talking now. So we will be getting to know Woody Hoberg. He's the pilot on this mission. You met the commander, Steve Bowen, here a few minutes ago, and now we will get to know Woody Hoberg.
As a kid, I always loved things that fly. I was always attracted to airplanes and rockets, just loved space, and I was just always attracted to the mystery of what's beyond. My name is Woody Hoberg, and I'm the pilot for NASA's Crew-6 mission to the International Space Station. I grew up north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I was lucky to go to a wonderful public school called North Allegheny High School. Participated in a lot of winter sports, so I enjoyed growing up in the cold. I think my first dream was to be a ski patroller, and not long after that I decided I wanted to be an astronaut. I think I was always, even as a kid, attracted to technical things and also to problem solving. I got deeply involved with something called the Tripoli Rocketry Association and started building my own large-scale amateur rockets. The largest one I built was 21 feet tall, 16 inches in diameter. It weighed well over 100 pounds. The hard part is getting it back in one piece. I was sewing my own parachutes on my mom's sewing machine, so there were some additional features that I built into these things. Since college, I've been very active as a rock climber, and so in grad school, I wanted to kind of take that to the next level, and I had a desire to maybe serve more, and so I became an EMT, became a member of Yosemite Search and Rescue. So I was spending most of the year at Berkeley working on my PhD, but then in the summers I was stationed in Yosemite National Park. And then I ultimately went to MIT as a young faculty member and led a research group studying convex optimization for engineering design. I would probably still be there, except that I got selected to come to NASA and be an astronaut. I got a call from Chris Cassidy. He told me the incredible news that they wanted me to come down to Houston and start training. I could not believe the words I was hearing. It was surreal. I knew that eventually I might have an opportunity to actually fly a mission, and so getting the phone call, realizing that process was starting, was a really special day for me, one that I will never forget. We have an absolutely amazing crew. I couldn't be happier with all three of my crewmates. I'm just so excited to spend time living and working in space with them and do this mission together. We've enjoyed training together both at NASA and our trips out to Hawthorne to train with SpaceX. It feels like we really are gelled and we're ready to execute the mission. I'm excited to carry on a small piece of the more than 22-year history of continuous human presence aboard ISS. It's quite surreal now, having actually achieved that childhood dream and being ready to embark on my mission to actually fly in space.
All right, now, so we're back. James is on his way to his location, his final location, to watch the launch from. I'll bring myself back into the frame for a minute here because I'm just this random voice speaking behind you here.
The ghost.
Yeah, the ghost, the ghost of the Carolina Weather Group. So, Candace, we're looking at now. It looks like they've got a good NASA TV's got a good look at the. They've got a good look now at the kind of the galley here, the gallantry. I don't know the bridge. We'll just call it the bridge. It's a little late for vocabulary. So they got the bridge here to the Crew Dragon. Obviously, they're going to be the astronauts will be sizing it up, kind of bending back all the way because they're in those suits.
Yeah.
And it's going to be quite a thing. So getting up to the space station, obviously, I mean, this is tell me a little bit about, how this mission might differ from, say, like launching a satellite or anything like that. Like they're aiming for a very specific point in space.
Yeah. So, they're having to like rendezvous with this tiny object that's about the size of a football field. And this size of a football field is also traveling at 17,500 miles an hour around the Earth. So, it's like you're trying to catch something that's moving extremely fast. Now, luckily, we are very smart and it moves in a very predictable path. So we know kind of, if we use the math, we know where to go. But, you have to make sure that you launch this rocket at exactly the right time, that, you fire and jettison different things at certain times in order to make it to that certain point. Otherwise, if you miss it, a little error can mean a big difference when you're talking moving at 17,000 miles an hour.
Back.
Yep, they're leaning back. Yep, they're taking a look. They're sizing it up right now, and getting a look at the vehicle that will be giving them quite a ride here in the next couple hours here as they get ready to go up the elevator,
I know that they are trained for this. They're ready for it, but can you imagine like that being your first time? Like you have got to have like such a huge smile on your face. Like I know you're trained, you got a job to do, but man, how cool would that be?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Looks like one of the elevators doesn't work either. It looks like they tried to go to one of them. They realized that there was a rope in front of it. So they're having to take the other one. So looks like there's only one elevator that's working. So I think what it looks like is happening is that they're boarding two at a time. I'm going to send two at a time.
You're not having good luck with elevators, huh?
No, that's okay. Yeah.
Listen, it doesn't matter if the elevators work as long as the rocket works. That's what has to work.
I do think there's some precedent for them taking two at a time elevators here. I think we've seen that during previous broadcasts. I don't know why. I've ridden elevators. I mean,
Well, part of me thinks like they're always thinking worst case scenario. What if something happens with the elevator? Let's not have all four of them on there. Let's have two.
To have to scrub because an elevator got stuck would be a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
But, like, don't put all your, eggs in the same basket. Like, they make sure that they're all,
Yep, there they go. We got the other two now sizing it up, getting a good look at it.
I can't tell who's who here, but it is very funny to watch these.
Oh, it's great.
Well, astronaut 3 and astronaut 4 doing things.
Yep. Whoever they are, it's kind of hard to tell. They all do look the same. To their credit, that's now they're going to be waiting for the elevator. I think they're walking to the wrong door.
One?
Yep, they're going to the wrong door again.
Are they going to do it too?
Yep,
yes!
Yep. Leap the little jump over.
They got so many mission details and no one told them which elevator to go to.
Listen, I'm just narrating what everybody's thinking right now. They were all like, go to the wrong one, go to the wrong one.
Oh,
I mean, that's what we're here for, right?
Oh man, that's great. James, I don't know if you were able to hear us earlier, but I did pull up, so there's a satellite product that we can use to keep an eye on launches now, that was developed by the University of Wisconsin at Madison. It's called the Night Plume RGB. Unfortunately, and so what that means is that it is a specific way to combine the basically the visible and infrared channels on the GOES East satellite to specifically detect rocket launches.
We've seen all sorts of things right on satellite radar. I don't want to bring it up while I'm here, but there was that certain balloon incident a little while back. We saw that come down the radar, right? So all of these detections in the sky, I will tell you guys, we're going to have by the way, we have lots of insight during tonight's broadcast from Kennedy Space Center, but do please subscribe because we have a full episode of even more content. And I got to see a model of one of the very first weather satellites that came out during the 60s for military operations. That is housed at the Cape Canaveral Space Force.
Yep.
Okay, and so we got all four astronauts up the elevator. So that's good.
Yep. Yep.
So they're going to pause here for a minute and they're going to make some phone calls out to whoever they want to make one last contact with before they start talking to mission control. And in a few moments, we'll also pause because I know some of our viewers will be going over to late local news, but we will continue streaming. And if you do step away, don't go far. We'll be back at 11:30 out here from Kennedy Space Center. You guys like my backdrop, by the way?
I love that.
Way better than mine.
It's not as good as mine. No, I'm just kidding.
This is not virtual. I could go touch it. I don't think the police would like that, but I couldn't.
No.
See, you can do anything you want. The question is, should you?
No, not if I want to stay to watch the rocket launch.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We're going to
Candace,
take you inside of that building, the vehicle assembly building coming up later. Jared?
Yep. Candace, I know that we're going to be, that we'll be saying goodbye soon. Any final thoughts before we jump out of here for our WCNC Plus viewers who are about to go watch the news?
Yeah. So, this is going to be a really cool thing. We've been to the International Space Station before, so theoretically this should be quote unquote kind of routine. We'll get the astronauts up there. They'll stay there for about 6 months. They're going to do some really cool research with some biology, and hopefully we learn something new from this that can help us with Artemis 2 and 3 and beyond.
Yeah, it's fantastic. As you can see in the view there, they're walking down the bridge now.
Which also looks very futuristic.
Looks very futuristic.
Right?
We definitely don't have that 60s vibe anymore, that's for sure. Not that there's anything wrong with the 60s vibe, but
it just matches the suits though. Like
it really does.
It looks, yeah.
If you like 60s vibe, no shade, there's plenty of it around here.
Oh, I know. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I can imagine it's like smoke and mirrors. Like they have like the futuristic stuff just exactly where that camera is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it works out nicely. So yeah, so there they are. Yeah, getting ready to strap in. So again, folks, if you're watching on WCNC Plus right now, we're about to take you out to your 11 o'clock news from WCNC. Candace Jordan, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been quite a lot of fun, and I know that taking time away, you have an early start tomorrow, and we really appreciate your time.
Of course, and anytime you guys want to learn about space, you can always head over to the Show Museum.
Yep, right out there in Gastonia. It's beautiful. We did the weatherproof event out there last summer. It was a blast. So great place to visit. Definitely recommend.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Candace, take care. We'll see you soon. All right. So
far they've been on time, right? Their departure, their arrival, and now they will climb in here. We have to get 4 astronauts in here secured. They're going to do pressurizing tests. So again, if you're just joining us here at 11 o'clock, the launch instantaneous at 1:45 a.m. They have to go at that very moment, or they're not going at all.
Yeah, because they got to point at a very specific place.
Yes.
They have a very specific target, and that is going to come over around. That's going to go over you about 12:55.
12:55, the International Space Station is going to come over. My new friend Jim Reed, who is with a group that actually connects students with the astronauts on the International Space Station using amateur radio. He is here, and at 12:55, we're hoping that we will be able to hear it as it comes overhead. Now, we probably aren't going to hear astronauts because the astronauts up there are busy preparing for the arrival of their friends, but the amateur radio repeater that is on the International Space Station can be used by anyone with an amateur radio license. So what we'll probably hear is people bouncing their voice off the International Space Station.
Do you think I could get there with my little handheld Baofeng?
Jim told me that he once caught somebody from Canada while in Atlanta, where he's from.
That's not bad.
And to do that in one hop is very incredible.
Yeah,
I don't think your 4-watt handy walkie is going to get you up to space.
No, I don't think it's going to get me to space station, but it'd be cool if it did.
Yes, because anybody who doesn't use amateur radio, you may not realize in order to connect like long distances like that, you normally have to rig a bunch of repeaters and things together. So to be able to do that distance with just one little bounce, it's pretty incredible.
That's a lot of power for sure.
My phone just did all of it. It's 11 o'clock. Let's put it in orange mode. Let's get ready for sleep. There's no sleep out here tonight.
No, there's no sleep tonight. No, absolutely not. We're going to be here until 2 a.m. And again, it's a little past 11 o'clock now. I'm Jared Smith in Charleston. James Brierton is on location at the Kennedy Space Center. And in the corner, we're watching NASA TV. We're watching the astronauts get strapped into the Crew Dragon for the Crew-6 mission. That'll be going up to the International Space Station at 1:45 sharp. And if they don't go then, they don't go at all. So looks like 2 of the astronauts are strapped in, and we got 2 more coming down the down the bridge now on their way to the capsule. You're seeing the view of that. And James, you've been out there a couple days. I'd love to know kind of, just kind of the overall vibe with everybody tonight and vibe the excitement.
It's amazing. We have a lot of first time rocket launch viewers out here, including myself. So the NASA social program that invited me to come on down on behalf of Carolina Weather Group and you all combines space enthusiasts and space newbies from all walks of life. So we have people who have some sort of direct connection to the space program, and we have other people who don't have any connections at all. And that's what's really nice about it. So you get all of that enthusiasm, all of that knowledge, all of that perspective, combined with just speeds away that direction, which you have all of the press. You have NASA TV. They're all gathered right here too. So to be in this same realm all together is absolutely incredible. I didn't know that the NASA social program existed until I just tossed my hat into the ring for this Crew-6 social. And so I would encourage people to seek it out if it's something that is of interest to them. I'm trying to get this guy connected. We do have a light breeze out here. I'm 3.5 miles away. So we'll see. The weather's looking good though. Back with you in a second.
Yep. So yeah, the weather is looking good. And again, I think one of the things that will be, we really don't have any concerns for the weather tonight there. The high pressure that has been keeping things rather warm, especially here in South Carolina where I am, that high pressure aloft, that dome of high pressure aloft is keeping any thunderstorm activity at bay. Florida, despite how warm it's been there, it's been pretty quiet. And obviously 1:45 a.m., pretty good window to get a lot of rockets off. So we have no trouble from any weather tonight here. Tomorrow begins to get a little bit more iffy as that ridge will weaken a little bit, but tonight is looking good. And again, as we're watching on NASA TV and the other panel here, the two of the other astronauts trying to figure out who that is. I think that is that might be the Roscosmos.
Gonna have to look at the flags, right?
Yeah,
we have two American flags, the United Arab.
So there's the UAE, and I think there's our Roscosmos friends. So,
and if I'm not mistaken, and Jim Reed is here. This is the first time UAE has gone up. Do you remember? That sounds first or second time. Yeah.
There is UAE news coverage.
There's UAE news coverage, and it's funny you mentioned that because somebody else also said on our bus today that they were staying in the hotel with all of the UAE people. So they went down to the lobby before. It was just full of UAE people.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, again, it truly is an international space station,
and it really is, right? Again, there's all sorts of conflict happening in the world, but you have folks from all countries up there working side by side on research. Not to mention riding with each other. We have one Russian coming up with us today. We have an American who's assigned to ride up and down on the Soyuz. Speaking of the Soyuz, they sent a new one up, and it docked this morning, if I'm not mistaken, because Russia's Soyuz capsule has been having some decompression issues or pressurization issues, and so they've been trying to get another one up there so they can get those three men, including one American, back home to Earth via Russia. So that docked today. It's been very busy up there in air traffic control for International Space Station because now they got Crew-6 coming up, and then Crew-5 will come back down in 5, 6, 7 days.
Yeah, it's been quite a it's been quite a busy day up there for sure, and I'd love to be a fly on the wall trying to coordinate all that, and I think that's where folks in Houston come into play. But yeah, we're getting a good look at it, getting a decent look at the astronauts now strapping in. Looks like number 18 and number 10 are finishing the strap in process there. So you see on NASA TV here, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take NASA TV full here so y'all can see kind of what we've got going on. So you've got looks like so there you go. You got 4 wide, got 4 across here, and
now I've heard this Dragon capsule can seat up to 6 or 7, but I don't know where they put them.
Yeah, and it's been interesting actually since the you can only send so many at a time on the space station anyway. What's interesting is that the final shuttle mission only sent 4 because they didn't have rescue capability.
Right, which goes back to our Soyuz thing. You always have to have enough spacecraft up there rated for passenger flight and get them back off because it hurts.
Yep, and so that's probably why they can send 4. We could, but it very likely means I have to look into that. little bit more, but yeah. So there's Steve Bowen, kind of to my right, kind of stage right there, so to speak. He is the commander of the flight, and I don't know how he.
Now it's going to take them another minute or so to get.
Yeah, it looks like we have a. I don't know if he was applying eye drops or what, but we got. James is kind of funny looking at those gloves there. He's got that one set of gloves, and then he's got a second set of gloves. And it's like, wow, did he grow 4 hands? That's
I
kind of
think what
funny.
you're going to probably see them do, they probably have light gloves on now, but when they actually pull the visors down, put the gloves on, they're going to do a whole pressurization test of that capsule before it leaves the ground. By the way, in case anybody wondering what the heck I'm holding, I'm taking a wind measurement here, and we're getting a steady light wind between 2 and 3 miles an hour out of the southeast, and then gusting up to 5. I don't think that's a problem for launch at all, but we're at just shy of 70 degrees here with 83% humidity. It's actually relatively comfortable.
Yeah, as far as Florida goes, for sure. And again, it's February in Florida, and and as we were talking about as you were getting ready, they have that massive ridge aloft that's been keeping things quite warm for a lot of us. I know some of you in North Carolina have had some cooler temperatures recently, but
I was shocked. I was on the road driving to Florida on Thursday when we had the warmest day in Charlotte in February ever. We got into 83, 84, whatever it was. And then I checked the temperature on my weather station on Friday, and it was 40s. And I was like, what happened?
that's that backdoor front for you. And
right.
but if it wasn't for that ridge, you would be talking about a freezing rain event. So there you go.
We've been good here in Florida, which is great, which is really great. We really want to see this rocket go off tonight. Jared, I was thinking we could go to another piece of videotape here, because it's going to take them a little while to get all buckled in and suited up. And I want to talk about this building behind you.
Yeah.
This is the vehicle assembly building. This is the largest single-story structure by volume, and they have used it to assemble everything from Apollo through Artemis. The pieces for the spaceship come from all across the country and all around the world. They get trucked in here, and then, just like a big jigsaw puzzle, the cranes put them into places. It's an incredible building. You have to go inside.
I'm a public affairs specialist here focusing on the Artemis program. I hope you have all heard about Artemis already, but this is NASA's plan to send humans back to the moon. So this is the building where we stacked the Artemis 1 moon rocket, and where we'll stack the coming Artemis missions. But this is also the building where all the Saturn V's for the Apollo program and all 135 space shuttles were stacked in here. So some people refer to this building as the Space Cathedral, because there's a lot of history in here. So originally constructed to support the Apollo program in the early 60s. So like if you look here, you see those orange platforms. So those were used for the Apollo program. This is kind of their testing and checkout cells, right? So before you stack all the pieces on top of each other, you want to make sure that they're all going to fit together and they're all ready for launch. So where we're standing right now, we call the transfer aisle. So as those pieces come in, they're usually wheeled down this aisle or into our high bays. So right now we're standing in the low bay of the building. You probably can't tell because it looks pretty tall. But as we go about halfway down the aisle to the high bays, you're going to be looking about 500 feet straight up. And if you saw the side of the building, those are those big gray doors. So those are where the rocket rolls out of. So right now we're using high bay 3. We'll get a good look at it once we get down the transfer aisle. But that's where they're stacking the Artemis moon rocket right now. You probably see that big yellow crane there. So that's one of 5 overhead cranes that we have in this building. So this is what we call the low bay crane. And then once we walk to the high bays, you'll be able to see the other ones. But again, that's what we use to stack all the rockets together. That is a very, very specialized job. Number one, you definitely cannot be afraid of heights. You can kind of see that crane we have. It has the windows angled down, so you're looking straight at the floor. But that team gets up there. There's a team on the ground that's making sure that they hook everything up correctly. And then they take the pieces, lift them for SLS and Artemis about 200 feet up in the air, up and over and down. And they just keep doing that process until that rocket's fully stacked.
What are hurricanes like inside this building?
Yes. So essentially, all the doors, they're mostly closed right now, but they kind of, close up the building nice and snug. And yeah, this building is prepared to take on hurricanes. So here's 2 of our high bays. This one right across from us was used for space shuttle. So you can see the orange platforms in there and the gray. We can't see it, but in this gray box over here, that's where the access point into the shuttle was. So if they needed to, put payloads in there or put people in there to get everything configured for the astronauts, that was kind of their access point for shuttle.
We are inside the Vehicle Assembly Building. It is the most recognizable structure on the Kennedy Space Center grounds, and it has been home to Apollo, to the shuttle, and now to Artemis.
So this is, the boosters are 5 segments tall. For Space Shuttle, they were 4 of these segments. So this is the bottom segment, and actually the entire weight of the rocket is stacked on these solid rocket boosters. So they're the first part of the rocket that gets stacked before they put the big orange core stage in between them. And you can kind of see in there, some of the platforms are extended in the high bay. So those platforms go in and out. Imagine giant hydraulic kitchen drawers. That's essentially what those platforms are. And those are the access points for the workers to get to the rocket. One of these fully stacked is about 20 feet shorter than the Falcon 9 rocket. So when you guys drive out and see the Falcon 9, you can kind of think about that.
Right.
It's about the same width and height as a Falcon 9 is. And so you got 2 of those, plus the core stage, plus the upper stage. So it's hard to visualize it, but it's a pretty big rocket.
So Jared, let me tell you a little bit about our experience here during NASA Social. I tried to keep my expectations low because I figured everything after that was just going to be a surprise. Going inside the VAB was an absolute wonder and a surprise. Like if I had even attempted to set expectations, then I still was over the moon and surprised. I don't think I ever expected to go inside the VAB, never mind up to the 16th floor.
Oh, wow. You get to ride up. That's cool.
Yeah. So there's an elevator that goes all the way up to the roof, and we'll actually probably see some NASA TV photographers up there on the roof tonight. I see some other NASA TV photographers. They've got big tracking cameras. You ever see those beautiful shots? You can see them tonight.
Mm-hmm.
When the rocket goes up and they're just following it. No, human photographers are really good, but that rocket goes really fast. So they've got almost like, how do I put this delicately? Missile-like technology, but with a camera instead of ammunition, and it will track up that camera. Let's take a live look here. We're continuing to watch the 4 astronauts get strapped into the top of this SpaceX Crew-6 Dragon, which is 3.5 miles away from where I'm standing, just over to my left. And again, you can still see the personnel on the crew pad there dressed in all black, helping the astronauts get strapped in. They are going to take a little under 24 hours to get up to the International Space Station. After they blast off here at 1:45 a.m., we're going to go through a series of checks, and you'll be able to hear some of those coming up in a few minutes from the NASA mission folks.
Let's take a listen in. Actually, I've unmuted them, so let's take a little listen in here. And again, we've got the. Do you think SpaceX calls them ninjas? I would hope so, because they look like ninjas.
I have heard them referred to as ninjas, but I'm not sure if that's the official term or the unofficial term.
SpaceX Dragon crew is ready for comm check.
SpaceX copies. Stand by for umbilical comm check.
Okay.
They're going to check the umbilical cord, which is a wire. They're going to check satellite relay, all of the backup systems. Hi, guys. They waved at me just an hour ago. They're waving at me now. We're standing by for that comm check. You're going to hear a whole series of hopefully successful and redundant comm checks. Tell you a little bit about their Dragon capsule here. Is the way they have a lot of touch screens. You've seen the inside of a Tesla car. You've seen the inside of a Dragon. That's a bit of an exaggerated metaphor.
It's not terribly far off. Yeah, I mean it's not terribly far
Commander,
off in a lot of ways.
Pilot, MS1, MS2, comm check.
SpaceX Commander, comm check.
That's Steve Bowen.
Commander, have you loud and clear?
And Commander, has you loud and clear as well.
SpaceX Pilot, we had you loud and clear.
Pilot, loud and clear.
That's Woody Hoberg.
SpaceX MS1 com check.
MS1 loud and clear.
Okay, we're doing everybody. That's good.
SpaceX, this is MS2. Believe me.
MS2 loud and clear. Umbilical comm check complete. Report when ready for seat rotation.
There's no Google Translate in space. Everyone has to speak everyone else's languages. Not only do the Russians have to speak English, but the Americans have to speak English. All right, so just like a good roller coaster ride here, Jared, we're going to see
SpaceX Dragon crew is ready for seat rotation.
Once they swing up into place,
SpaceX copies Dragon will report when initiating.
Good view of their feet. So we have NASA's launch control people back behind me here.
Initiating
the
seat
vehicle
rotation.
assembly building. The flight NASA control people are in Houston, and the SpaceX people are in California. So if you are an advocate of work from home telecommuting, there you go. They're not working from home, but they are all spread out across the country.
I mean, it takes a village, right? As you can see, they're rotating into position right now. You can see it on the NASA feed here. I'll take it full, and there they go. Yeah, lock and load, just like a roller coaster. I think that was a really good metaphor there, for sure.
Dragon SpaceX, seats are in the launch position.
SpaceX Dragon copy.
No word on their tray tables, but I would have to assume that those are also up in the launch position.
I would assume so. No snacks on those flights. There was no in-flight service.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true. There probably is food. They're going to be flying for a day. I've also brought food, by the way, because by the time you go through security, you can hang out here for a little while.
Oh yeah,
having snacks is helpful.
Absolutely.
There's no concession when you're standing out.
Dragon SpaceX, you are go for Section 2 suit leak check preparation.
Okay, so this is
Section 2 suit leak check preparation in work.
All right, and so this is the pressurization check. Yes.
I would think so. If it's not the actual check, it's a predecessor too. There's a whole checklist of steps they're going to go through here. Checklist was actually something paramedic who's with our NASA social event asked during the Q&A that we live streamed yesterday about the importance of checklists and how everyone needs a checklist. Otherwise, you're human and you will naturally forget something. I had a checklist for tonight's broadcast. It's right down here.
Mm-hmm. I got a checklist right in front of me. So, I mean, we're living on checklists, and yeah, I mean, that just like any flight, right? Any flight, you know, anytime you go up in an aircraft, a commercial aircraft, there's a checklist. There's a very detailed checklist that the pilots and the flight crew work through. So if they do it just for, you know, flying from one place to another, you absolutely better believe they're doing it for flying to space.
Yeah. We haven't said this in a minute. If you have questions,
Dragon pair is complete. We are ready for leak check.
waiting confirmation.
SpaceX copies. You are go for Section 3 suit leak check.
If you have any
We
questions,
got Section 3 suit leak check in work.
Put questions in tonight's chat. If you want to help me pay for gasoline or coffee to get home tomorrow, you can give us a super thanks or a super chat on YouTube. We would appreciate that. We've also launched our new merch store, including the hat that is on my head here tonight that helps support the Carolina Weather Group. We know so many of you on Patreon helped make this trip possible. Again, this only came up in the past 2 weeks or so. It's not like we pre-planned or pre-budgeted for it. So for those of you who have subscribed to our YouTube, Patreon supporters, or maybe have gone down the avenue doing a super thanks or a super chat, our super thanks to you to help make this broadcast possible. I hope you all are having a fantastic time getting to see this virtually through my eyes. And again, I would encourage all of you to keep an eye out on NASA's Twitter for their next social event.
No, absolutely. And again, to all of you watching this evening, we've kind of broadcast this one far and wide tonight. And I know that we've, we've gotten some super thanks already. We've gotten some super chats and some spots. And we definitely want to thank everybody for their support. And yeah, and again, we do have that merch store, and I'm gonna put a little code up on the screen while we wait for the next.
Oh boy, here comes the QR code.
Yeah, next around here. Let's do the big one. And yeah, so again, you like James's hat, you can get one very much like it. And that goes to support what we do here at the Carolina Weather Group. And we definitely appreciate all of you joining us tonight and hanging out with us. This is a fun time. This is exciting for everybody here.
I still feel like I'm in a dream, and I'm trying to figure out how to soak it all in, and I'm not sure how to do that yet.
Yeah,
I have decided that I'm taking Tony Rice up on his advice that he gave us on last Wednesday's show, right? Our weekly Wednesday show. He said, if you don't have a camera that's on a tripod, just watch it with your own eyes, take it in, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yep, and that's advice that I got when I did mine, and it was.
Let me see if I can just show you guys here real fast. I'm not close, right? So, oh wow, I almost don't need the ring light. I want to flip my camera around and just kind of show you guys what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
The rocket is that white light in the center of the screen. So,
yep.
I mean, I can see the rocket. I'm not close, but I can totally see it. So when that thing lifts off, it'll be very visible to me. Probably not for very long. It's going to be going fast. But.
It's going to be going fast. It's going to be very bright. And yeah, they're really, really cool. So haven't heard much from
one of the cool
in a minute.
No, we haven't. And you know what? I think these tests are going to take a minute because let's be real. It's 11:23 and this thing's going up at 1:45 a.m. So let's go ahead and cue up our next piece of video here, because speaking of really cool things, there's a lot happening.
Again, we have nominal suit leak check for all things.
That's good news.
SpaceX copies and concurs with suit leak checks. Closeout team will now perform final closeout steps and exit capsule. Proceed to section 4 for side hatch closure and report when ready to close side hatch. Also, stand by for ground facing comm checks.
All right, so as they do some more safety comm checks and secure the door.
Closure, and we'll report when we're ready for side hatch closure.
The live broadcast. You ever go to a party where everyone's just talking over each other at once? We'll mute them for a moment. We'll put them in a small box. I want to take you inside the crawler. The crawler is not used for SpaceX. As we mentioned earlier, SpaceX has their own assembly building down there at their launch complex, but the vehicle assembly building behind me, which was used for Apollo and used for Artemis, well, after they had done assembling it, they need to get their rocket out to the launch pad. And for that, they use the wonderful, the one, the only crawler.
Well, anyway, this is crawler 2. There's 2 crawlers. There's one on the other side, which was obviously crawler 1, and they were built for the Apollo program. And this one was the second one built. It was built in 1966. The company who built it was a mining company, Marion Power and Shoal. They actually pretty much assembled it in Ohio and then brought it down here and then reconstructed it. It's 130 by 115. It weighs 6.6 million pounds. How much fuel? It can hold 5,000 gallons. There's 2 2,500 gallon tanks, one on each end. To run the crawler, say like on a rollout operation, it takes about 18 to 20 people. Okay, and that's including technicians on the ground and in the pump room and in the engine rooms. And we usually have about 6 to 7 engineers that operate, and we all usually take about 2 to 3 hour shifts and rotate. So each position has its own cert, and of course you have to pass a test and do an OJT in order to gain that position. Okay, so this is 1 of 2 cabs. This is cab 1. And if you will reach right down there and lift that little lid and flip that switch.
This?
Yep. That'll light up your panel.
Oh, wow.
And so this is of course is 1 cab. Everything in this cab, it's all fly-by-wire. It's all connected to the PLC, programmable logic controller. So everything's computer driven.
Was it always computer driven even back in the 60s or?
Nope, it was all relays.
Wow.
Back in the 60s, there was a lot of mechanical. The cab has changed quite a bit from Apollo to now. On Apollo, there were actually 2 consoles, and you actually steered it like they used a jet fighter controller to steer it back and forth. And then forward and backwards was actually a mechanical arm where you pulled it back for reverse, pushed it forward for forward, and put it in neutral.
That crawler is quite a piece of equipment and has carried some pretty big rockets over the years, that's for sure. So now we're joined back right now, taking a look at NASA TV. They are closing the hatch on the Crew Dragon. Right now, looks like a lot of the SpaceX ninja looking guys. Maybe we call them the ninjas. They are.
I think we can call them ninjas. That sounds pretty good.
Let's call them ninjas. They are. Looks like they're inspecting the hatch just to make sure that everything will seal properly and make sure everything that looks good there. And then they're going to close this guy probably pretty soon. I don't know if this is just a check or what. We didn't hear anything on the.
I was going to say I think our phone bridge might be muted.
No, we're listening. It's just we're not hearing anything right now.
Oh, okay. On my side, the Kennedy Space Center feed from our relay looked muted on the Zoom. So we will wait, see how long it takes them to get. Now, when they closed the door for Crew 5, they actually had to reopen it because after they closed the door, they found a foreign object inside the space capsule. It was a piece of hair. So this does take a minute.
Yeah, I mean, space flight has to be precise. You have a foreign object there. That's not going to do any good.
Well, when you get up to 0G, you don't want anything floating around.
No. No, absolutely not. So, James, you were correct. It was muted. I apologize.
I know I was backseat driving, and my wife will tell you that I do it all the time. But sometimes I'm just trying to be helpful.
Oh yeah, no, it was very helpful. I'm just, I'm one Mountain Dew into this marathon here, so
I have caffeine. You want some?
You gotta. Yeah, looks like they're continuing to work on the door here. This is fascinating.
You want that door to be secure?
Yeah, that's a door that's a pretty important door. Yeah, again, I'm just kind of taking.
Think about all the seals on it, right? Like, yeah, my front door, like the weather strip is no good, and I know I need to fix it, but I haven't gotten around to it. I mean, this thing's got to have a good seal on it.
Yeah, if the weather stripping fails on the Falcon, it's not exactly very hospitable outside. So,
no.
Yeah, that's no good. James, kind of funny. I was taking a look like it was like a little outflow boundary or land breeze or something that was coming off of Titusville there, but now, but it's off the radar now. I mean.
So you want me to get my wooden measurements back out? It's in one of these pockets.
I don't know if you're going to see anything there, but looking at the Cape Canaveral observation, it's 68 with a dew of 65. So very nice and Floridian air mass there. And winds are southwest at 8 at Cape Canaveral. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of speeds you're getting. But that's right in line with what the 45th Weather Squadron from the U.S. Space Force has been advertising for the last couple days. So
I just peaked at 5.
Yeah. Again, I think that if anything is going to stop this launch from going tonight, it is not going to be the weather. The weather is
it's going to be mechanical. The temperature's gone up here. We're at 72 now.
Well, there you go. And again, it's considering where you are. Yeah, that doesn't always surprise me. That's a really swampy spot. You don't get an appreciation until you go out there, but how swampy Kennedy Space Center is.
Well, the water is literally right there, and they actually told us, no kidding aside, don't go near the water. There are alligators.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And we've seen lots of them out on our trip here. I'm going to take a moment. It's just past 11:30. James Brierton with you live here from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, joined with the Carolina Weather Group's Jared Smith, holding things down from Charleston, South Carolina. You're rejoining us here on WCNC Plus, this Carolina Weather Group live coverage of NASA's SpaceX Crew-6 launch here from Kennedy, scheduled for 1:45 a.m. today. They were going to go up to the International Space Station, and they're going to be conducting 6 months worth of science up there, and they will be relieving Crew 5, who will come on back down. What you're looking at right now are the crew personnel out there on the launch pad dressed in black. We've been calling them ninjas, and they're working to secure the door. The 4 astronauts, 2 from America, 1 from the United Arab Emirates, and 1 from Russia, are already seated inside the capsule. They did suit checks to make sure that the pressurization in their suits was good. And Jared, after they get this door sealed up, they will also do a cabin check. I swear on my tiny little device, it looked like that ninja just like turned the flashlight on his phone and was looking up something, but I don't think he has his cell phone out there, so I'm not sure what they're doing.
It may be some sort of handheld. Back in the day, we used to call them personal digital assistants. Maybe that's kind of. I mean, you have
the BlackBerry. You trying to tell me it's a BlackBerry?
Oh, I don't know if it's a BlackBerry, but looks like it at least has a touch screen. But yeah, you can see that they've been. If you're watching us for the last few minutes, they've been checking the doors. They've been checking. They recently checked the suits, and everything is looking good. Everything so far is right on schedule. Not seeing any signs of problems here. We're not hearing anything, and I swear it's unmuted this time.
It is. I think we're just waiting for the door to get closed. So why don't we go ahead and queue up our next videotape? Because again, it's 11:30, and this thing's going up at 1:45, which puts us over 2 hours left on this countdown, folks. But we'll start to get a lot more action from NASA Mission Control here coming up. By the way, the building behind me is the vehicle assembly building. It wasn't used for the SpaceX operated mission, but it is used for other missions. And just off here, right about in there, a little bit in the dark, that's where the NASA folks here at Kennedy Space Center are all monitoring today's launch. One of them is the Kennedy Space Center director, Janet Petro, who actually met us during our tour inside the VAB the other day. And she talked about her excitement for the Artemis program, which will return human beings to the moon in the years ahead, including the first woman and the first person of color. Here's what the director of the Kennedy Space Center had to tell us.
We had our first Artemis 1 mission, as you said, at the end, capstone of our 60th anniversary. It was a big anniversary present for us. But yeah, first woman and first person of color on the surface of the moon, lunar. I have my personal favorite that I picked out in the astronaut that I want to go, but who knows? I'll be making an announcement for the crewed flight of Artemis 2 sometime this year, soon, sometime this year. But then, of course, Artemis 3 is when the crew will actually be descending down to the surface of the moon. So that'll be the really exciting. Right now? 2 will be next year, towards the end of the year. Probably like November, December is my guess. And then a year after that, 2025 will be Artemis 3. And that flight's heavily dependent on our SpaceX partner developing the human lander system. First time ever that NASA has awarded a commercial company to develop and build and design, and we buy a service for them for getting our astronauts to and from the surface of the moon. So that's super exciting. So they're doing their HLS. You've probably been following some of their Starship operations, successful static fire. So hopefully they'll be doing their first suborbital flight. And then, of course, Artemis 3 will be bringing up our astronauts in Orion, matching up and bringing them down. 2025 is when we're shooting for. But there is some complexities and some dependencies there, so we'll see.
All right, and that was Director of the Kennedy Space Center, Janet Petro. As we take another live look here at the Crew Dragon, the SpaceX teams are working to prepare the ship for departure, prepare the capsule for departure. It looks like they've been taking a good hard look at the door. Obviously, that is a very important part of the spacecraft that you would absolutely want to make sure is functioning properly as we get back to James Brierton out at the Kennedy Space Center, out at the VAB. And James, I know you've gotten some questions around the countdown clock and things of that nature. So yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the countdown clock a little bit. Let's talk about, because I remember when I was on doing 135, the shuttle program has like built-in holds in the countdown clock where they, perform checks. And then if all is well, they'll release that hold and it will go down to launch time. I understand that for this, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, this is an instantaneous launch, so they're going to be trying to keep up with that International Space Station. So they've got a routine that they're performing continuously. Whereas with Artemis, even recently, we did have some of those hold windows. So yes, the countdown clock is running. It's a little over 2 hours. Eagle-eyed viewers probably see me looking at my watch. It's because from where I'm standing, it's obscured behind a generator. But it is here at the press site. They have recently digitalized it. It's no longer the Apollo era kind of flip of the numbers. Let's listen in. I think we hear somebody in the comms.
Not very loudly.
Dragon SpaceX, just an update. We're doing some final inspections on the ground, but we'll be stepping into side hatch closure now. Again, stand by, and following side hatch closure, we will step into comm check.
Now, I don't want to read into that when I say they're doing some final checks on the ground. But it seems like it's closing the door is going to take a minute. It's important. But I was getting nervous when they were bringing the flashlights out and staring into the hinges.
I think that's just something they do. You could just never be.
I hope so. They got plenty of time, right? And that's good news.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, Jared, to your question, they don't necessarily have holds, but they've got wiggle room, right? So, like anybody who's going for a long drive, you try to leave yourself room in case you run into traffic.
Got it. That's cool.
Oh, here goes the door.
Yep, there it goes. Yep, they are closing the door. They are satisfied with the door. They are closing it right now. And we probably will hear some additional comms here shortly.
Yeah, that's why I was standing by.
But overall, still a good sign. Looks like things are progressing nicely. Can you see the signatures around the agencies?
Right, there's a NASA meatball and a SpaceX logo. And by the way, I don't know if we saw it earlier, maybe we didn't point it out. The astronauts signed the wall.
Yeah, so I think those are astronaut signatures there. That was cool. Hopefully they go back to that view. But I think at this point, the door is closed. And
those ninjas will probably wait around, I would believe, for a moment in case they need to fix anything. Speaking of signatures, though, if you caught it in our last piece, 2 pieces ago, when we went inside the vehicle assembly building, all of the signatures of shuttle astronauts are on the wall inside the VAB.
Yeah, the VAB is a religious experience going in there. It is
really like a chapel.
It is the cathedral of spaceflight.
By the way, I don't know if anybody's picked up on this yet, but you see the little white dot that's next to the VAB? That's the moon.
Oh, yeah.
Watching over us through the clear sky.
There you go. And we've had, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to talk about the conjunction that we've had with the...
Yes, that's what I was looking for.
Yes.
I tweeted it before. I don't see the conjunction right now.
I believe that is an iPhone with a timer app. That's amazing.
What? Oh, the ninjas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an iPad.
Right.
All right.
Let's talk a little bit more here about NASA and what they have planned ahead, right? Because with the crew missions, NASA is able to contract with SpaceX. NASA's still involved. NASA's doing all the research in the International Space Station, but they can put the load on SpaceX to do a lot of the logistics, which frees them up for the Artemis program. And that's obviously a big theme why we're here. One of the astronauts who we met on Friday, Raja Chowri, is in
Dragon SpaceX on check over ground station.
Stand by here a second.
Dragon, have you line clear over the ground station?
We're loud and clear. Ground station comm check complete. Stand by for Tigris comm check.
I didn't catch what we're standing by for.
Sounds like some sort of comm check.
More comm checks. All right. We will continue to monitor those comm checks. I want to tell you more about astronaut Raja, who took time out on Friday to come meet us here at the NASA Social. Is currently actually doing the NASA TV broadcast. He's in the running to be one of those astronauts in Artemis 2 or 3. So let's learn a little bit more about him.
For me, every time I have an NBL run or every time I do a practice spacewalk and you get in that suit, like we call it the EMU, and feel the gloves go on, feel the pressure build, feel the fan start to flow and the air start to come over the back of your head, and you realize like this is it. That's when it really strikes me that this is actually not a dream. This is actually happening.
I'm Raj Achari. I go by Grinder. I grew up in Iowa and went to the Air Force Academy and then MIT, and then was an Air Force test pilot.
If I ask my mom, she definitely has memories of me as a child talking about being an astronaut. I always knew I wanted to do something related to aviation, but at the same time, I think I also started to tell myself it wasn't really possible because it was just something to get let down from. Every phase of my life I had doubt, whether it was at the Air Force Academy and wondering whether I could survive basic training, whether it was when I was at MIT or even pilot training, failing check rides and thinking again, maybe I'm on the wrong path. But I think in all those events, I've been blessed to have a supportive family, supportive spouse, supportive mentors and leaders who helped me at the time realize like, hey, these are setbacks and you get better by tackling those head on. For the Artemis mission, they're not just PowerPoint slides. They're actually metal is being bent, shaped, formed to build the things that we're going to use. And as a test pilot background, this is a dream job to actually be involved in all of this. Now looking back, I would have told myself, hey, just pause and appreciate what's actually happening around you and the magic of the moment that you're in. Newton talks about, standing on the shoulders of giants. Now, I'm definitely not a giant, but if I can throw a little stepping stone out there, that would be my goal. My name is Raj Achari.
All right, so we're
Sounds like they
rejoining. Yeah.
Sounds like they just successfully finished those comm checks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything sounds good. Again, we've been listening into mission control, and you hear that from time to time here.
Dragon SpaceX. We are going to commence health checks for the launch escape system. Expect momentary flight computer state change, followed by a transition back to pad hatch closed.
And that's totally normal.
Yep.
SpaceX Dragon will be watching. Thanks.
So Raja, who we just learned about, is not flying tonight, but he is in the running to be strapped into one of those seats pretty soon to either go around the moon for Artemis 2 or maybe down to the moon with Artemis 3. I actually got a chance to ask him a question on Friday during a briefing that was held in the official media briefing room, which is right over there, about how he, as a human being, handles the anxiety and the anticipation of NASA's upcoming announcement later this year on which astronauts will be flying Artemis 2 and 3. Let's take a listen to his answer.
My name is James Brierton from Charlotte, North Carolina. My question is for Raj. You're a trained professional, but as a human being, I wonder what it's like dealing with the suspense waiting to find out who's going to fly Artemis 2, 3, and beyond.
It's actually pretty easy. I'd be happy with anyone in the office to do it. I mean, I think the whole reason I applied again twice, I applied once and didn't make it in. The reason I applied again is everyone in the office is awesome. So I don't think it matters who it is. We'll all be excited and all fall in line to support that person and those people. I think, we were actually talking, I was talking with some of the PA folks. I think the most common misconception about astronauts is that our job is to fly in space. Well, that is a job, but most of our job is not flying in space. You mentioned 28 years, which is the same number Tom Marshburn, who was my pilot on Crew 3, was in the office. And so out of 28 years in the office, he flew like 500 some days. But that's when you look at the percentages, that's a small amount, but it's flying in space is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but we love our day job. So whether it was helping with the commercial crew and working with Dana before I flew or helping with HLS and the lunar lander now, that is super exciting stuff. And so, yeah, I would love to get assigned to Artemis. Everyone would, but we also love our job.
All right, as we continue to listen into mission control here, not much going on right now. Again, we've had comm checks. They are now, it sounds like they're going to be testing some of the escape systems. So again, everything going to plan so far here for Crew-6, the Crew-6 Dragon launch here at the Kennedy Space Center. We'll be talking in a few moments with some of the NASA social participants down there. Jared Smith here with James Brierton, who is on location at the Kennedy Space Center as part of the NASA Social event. You're watching Carolina Weather Group coverage here across the Carolina Weather Group Network, as well as on WCNC+. It is very good to have you here with us in this pretty late night, but an exciting night for sure. Again, we were coming up on a launch at 1:45, and so far so good. Everything seems to be in a good spot. Everything moving along pretty well. Again, we've got the full feed here from NASA TV, and we are also listening in at times to the mission control folks and kind of the launch control folks and communications between them and the Dragon capsule as we get ready for launch at 1:45 a.m.
I'm such dweeb, surrounded by other nerds. It's great. I just walked over to some of our other participants who are hopefully going to come over and say hi. But I mean, I'm afraid to move from this spot because I know there's a connection, but just imagine there's other people out here with ring lights, other people doing selfie videos, other people doing photography, still photography, other people doing pictures and paintings. Like, there's so many people out here just nerding out in their niche. I hope some of my excitement, some of their excitement is translating back through.
Yeah, and James, I think that's a really good point because, NASA Social is not just for hardcore space nerds.
Totally not. It is for the amateur space enthusiast or the complete novice. We have people who are here who are learning all of it for the first time, but that's what's great because you get all of those perspectives, and that's what this is all about. It's about reaching other people, and that's what social media is good for, right? I was talking to Sarah, a marketing and advertising expert, who's currently talking into her ring light, much like I'm talking into my ring light, about how platforms like YouTube allow people to really flourish in their niche communities. You want to learn about amateur radio, you want to learn about gardening, you want to learn about model trains. There's a place in a locale for you to not only make that content, but then also watch it back.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think I think James, you're going to be getting Holly, photographer, here shortly. Just kind of taking a look.
Yeah, she was in her zone, and I was just like, Holly, can I steal you for a few minutes? So we're also about to get buzzed by a helicopter, so you might be able to hear that here in a moment. It is going to go. I'm actually going to hold my ring light because it's flimsy, and that is maybe 100 feet off the ground.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
I don't know if you can see it.
Couldn't see it. I could hear it. I definitely heard it.
Yeah, it was very low.
Dragon SpaceX side hatch leak check.
I mean, the VAB is higher than it, and the VAB is 500.
That's good news.
You've heard that, Steve, and we also have a post-ingress briefing when you're ready to copy.
We are ready to copy the post-ingress briefing.
All right. We have no updates on weather from the previous briefing, and Dragon and Falcon are tracking no issues for launch. We're looking good here. The NASA team, for your awareness, is tracking a possible conjunction for ISS in about 22 hours, and is considering performing a PDAM if required. We are still go for launch, regardless of if the PDAM will be required. Or if ISS takes that avoidance maneuver, they may attempt to perform it prior to the Dragon boost burn, which helps to minimize impacts to our rendezvous timeline. We will come back after launch with more information as the joint teams evaluate if the PDAM is required, as well as if there are any updates to your mission timeline. I'll copy.
Thanks, Dragon. We copy all. Thank you for the heads up on the PDAM, and we'll be bringing those words after we get to orbit.
Okay, so.
All right, let me translate that for you. You also Googling?
Oh, yeah.
The PDAM maneuver helps them to avoid space debris, is what I'm reading.
Yep.
Now, here's why that's just slightly
a good read back,
because
Dragon.
it's
And
alleged
at
space
this time,
debris.
we'll step into contacts with Falcon 9 operators. Please report when you're ready.
SpaceX Dragon 1 ready for contact with the Falcon 9 operators.
We believe space debris is what caused the pressure leak inside the Soyuz capsule
initiating.
for the Russians.
I muted so you could talk about the.
We just really need everyone to stop littering in space.
Yes, there's lots of things in space. Space is very, very crowded. All right, we're going to go back and listen to.
GNC loud and clear. Stand by for comm check by the propulsion engineer. Dragon, prop on countdown 1, comm check.
And prop, Dragon, have you loud and clear on countdown 1.
Prop, loud and clear. Stand by for comm check with the avionics engineer.
Dragon avionics on countdown 1, comm check.
Avionics Dragon, have you loud and clear on countdown 1.
Avionics loud and clear. Stand by for comm check by the ground segment engineer.
Dragon, ground segment on countdown 1, comm check.
And ground Dragon, have you loud and clear on countdown 1.
Ground segment, loud and clear. Stand by for comm check by launch control.
Dragon, launch control on countdown 1, comm check.
Launch control Dragon, have you loud and clear on countdown 1.
Launch control, loud and clear. Stand by for comm check by the chief engineer.
Dragon, CE on countdown 1, comm check.
CE Dragon, have you loud and clear on countdown 1.
CE, loud and clear. This completes the F9 responsible engineer comm checks.
Communication is obviously highly important, so it's good that all of those channels, the redundancies, and the tertiaries are working. I suspect we're going to get the pressurization test of the cabin. I think it's going to be a drinking game every time I mispronounce the word pressurization.
It's a tough word. Pressurization. Yeah.
Try to put a depressurization in front of it, and
Oh, they don't want
you'll win
that.
Scrabble with it.
You don't want that, but you don't want to.
Yeah. You know, we were talking about space debris, and some of it is unintentional, and some of it is just old, right? So although there is a particular zone where they try to move things into the space graveyard, sometimes you can't always get them there before they run out of fuel. But we had the chance while we were here, and don't worry, Jared, there's not a piece of tape for this. We had the chance while we were here to go to the Space Force Museum. If you ever come out here, you can go to the Kennedy Visitor Complex and do the Kennedy NASA stuff. But then it's totally worth going across one more bridge and going to the Space Force, I almost said Air Force, Space Force Museum, where the early stuff went up, right? When you think about Mercury or the tests that we did, frankly, with apes in space, as crazy as that actually sounds now, they launched them from a different part of this area. And so they talked about some of the very early satellites that went up, and some of them are still up there. Now, they may not work anymore, but they're still up there.
There's a site, I got to pull this thing out, that will show you basically the position of every bit of space junk, everything that's out there. I definitely need to I need to remember where that website is, but it's a really cool 3D view. It's massive. There's a lot out there.
Well, let's just talk about, we have decades worth of stuff that's going up. But right in front of me right now, I've got 4 human beings who are on a rocket that soon will be fueled. But then you've got other folks out here, other contractors, other private businesses, Blue Origin, Boeing, SpaceX has more, right? They got their Starlink satellites. In the next 24 hours, we're going to see 2 or 3 launches alone. And I can actually see a whole nother rocket sitting out on a pad right now. It has nothing to do with what we're doing right now, but I'm going to hazard to guess that's Starlink for tomorrow at 1 p.m. in the afternoon.
Yes, it is. Yep, that's correct. And we just send so much stuff up now. And it's just...
We really, right, because Starlink is how many satellites? Each one of those? At least 50, right?
At least 50, yeah. And despite their best efforts, they are still fairly visible from the naked eye, which is always interesting.
So here comes Holly. She's been on NASA Social with me. Now, Holly, we only have one microphone. She's a little shorter. I'm going to hand you my headset. This is Jared Smith. You're on live with him right now in the Carolina Weather Group. He's in Charleston. He's been looking at some of your pictures, and I'm going to let you guys talk about photography. And then I'll butt in if I feel like I need to. But I'm sure Jared can ask you some great questions about how you do your still photography. Okay, absolutely. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So,
hey guys, thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you, Holly, so much for joining us. And I've been taking a look at some of your photos here, just off your Twitter, and seems like this is something that you do a good bit. You seem to have an affinity for rockets.
Yeah, from as early as I can remember, I've always been interested in rockets. My parents introduced me to those EST rockets that you could get, the hobbyist stuff. And then, originally being from Washington State, we had some aerospace industry with Boeing, and most recently with Blue Origin, we've got some industry facilities back there, but not quite like what we do here down at, Florida and Space Coast. So once my family and I got stationed here for the military back in October, so just almost 6 months, I couldn't not get into spaceflight photography and just trying to capture every single rocket launch. I think my first rocket launch that I photographed was, correct me if I'm wrong, USSF 47, the first Falcon Heavy since 2019 that launched back in early November, late October. That was the first one that I saw. And then it was hook, line, and sinker. I've only missed 3 launches since then, either just witnessing it or photographing it. So yeah, no, it's my newest passion, obsession, if you will.
No, that's wonderful. And I've only gotten to see one, and that still just leaves just left a tremendous mark. So talk a little bit about, your gear and how do you get, these just some amazing rocket shots. I mean, I'm trying to see if I can't cue a few up for our viewers here. But yeah, tell me a little bit about, just how how you do it and where you set up some, not all of your tricks of the trade, of course. Trying to keep a secret.
Oh, no. Sharing my tricks of the trade, that's what helps getting, other photographers into it. Because what I found is that so many people and so many other photographers are very secretive, and they hold that very close to the chest, their information. And I found a couple of other photographers that like to share their information. And that's how I learned, is by trial and error, and those that have been willing to share their trade secrets. So some of the equipment that I photograph with, I'm lucky enough to own 3 different cameras and a Sony line. My primary camera is a Sony a7R4. That's the one that I primarily get my telephoto shots that you see up close of the rocket and some of the nebulae from MECO, main engine cutoff, and separation. With that one, I use a 200 to 600 lens and a really heavy cop in post. Some of my long exposure ones are done with a Sony a6500 or a6000. And that one, it really depends on where I'm located in regards to the rocket, its trajectory, and just kind of the foreground that I'm going for and the composition that I'm trying to get. So sometimes it can be with the Sony 10 to 18, which was on a crop sensor body, is equivalent to a 16 to 35, or using an actual 16 to 35 lens, or sometimes I use a 100 to 400 or 24 to 70. It really depends on what kind of image I'm trying to gather and what the conditions are giving me. And half the time, even if I'm trying to go for a wide angle shot and get that nice streak through the atmosphere, the clouds don't want to cooperate. So it doesn't really matter what kind of focal length you're really shooting at when you're only getting maybe 1,000 feet of flight.
Yeah, it's yeah, I've got one of your photos. I think this you mentioned that this was one of your favorites of 2022 on your Twitter. I believe this is the Falcon 9 launch from December 11th. I think that's what it kind of looks like, kind of sort of like looks like you got one coming back. Looks
yeah.
Like that's so cool.
Oh yeah, so that was my besides the Falcon Heavy, that was the first time that I was able to try and capture what's called an RTLS, a return to launch site. So that's when the boosters come back, and instead of landing on one of the drone ships out to sea, or even being just decommissioned and let fall into the ocean and later return, I was able to photograph the return launch of the booster landing back at the Cape at LZ1 and 2. That was a learning experience. Reason being is because the settings are so much different for a return to launch site booster landing than it is for just a regular launch. The regular launch, the rocket is only really visible for the first 2.5, maybe 3.5 minutes, depending on its trajectory and atmospheric conditions. For a booster return, that's an 8 to 9 minute long exposure. So you can either try and do that all in within one single image. It's possible. It's really difficult to get those settings right. But for that one, my single exposure didn't want to cooperate, but I had a secondary camera that ran, and that's a 2 image, technically a composite. I did the streak and then the launch, the booster coming back. But yeah, it was my first attempt. So at that time, it was my absolute favorite. Because it's not every day that you get to see the return to launch site boosters coming back.
No, we get to see that occasionally. All the way here in South Carolina, it looks very different for us, and it has to be a certain time of day and everything there. But no, that's so cool. That's so cool. So is this your first NASA social? I know that you've been seeing a lot of these, but is this your first time right here at the press site?
Yes, this is my first ever NASA social. Before moving here to Space Coast, this kind of stuff wasn't really on my radar. Like, I knew that, we were sending rockets into space with, various payloads and sending people up to the ISS. But, from Washington State, the closest option to view a rocket launch was, from Vandenberg in California. So it was never really on my radar. So since moving here, that's become on my radar. And this is the first NASA social that was open since I've moved down here. So I plan on applying to every single one. I doubt I'll get picked for every single one, but it never hurts to try again. But yeah, it's just, you can feel the gravity of the situation and the tension is palpable. Everybody's excited. Everybody's nervous, especially because this is a crewed mission. There's more, important and precarious cargo on this mission. And this is, besides doing like a Kennedy Space Center, KSC Explorer, public has access to. I've never been this close to a rocket for a launch. The closest I've ever been is like 14 miles.
I will tell you from my experience seeing the shuttle. I know the shuttle is a larger vehicle than this, but you are in for a heck of a show. I think you're going to have a fantastic time, and I hope that your camera's on auto so you can enjoy the sight with your own eyes too. I think that's always really important. No, that's fantastic. Or do you have any plans, obviously, to, I can imagine that you're probably going to shoot this one. What are you hoping to get out of it?
So with this one, being as close as we are to the rocket, the longer exposures, getting the full streak into the frame is going to be a lot more of a challenge to capture. So I'm really taking the opportunity to crop in as much as I can. So like right now, I'm as close as I possibly can on this barrier that we have right against the water, using my 200 to 600 cropped in to the equivalent of a 900 millimeter lens. I am trying to get as close to a flame shot with the booster as you can without setting up remote cameras, because unfortunately, as NASA social participants, we don't have access to that. You have to be actually accredited media.
No, that makes sense. I think we've seen some amazing photos from NASA social folks over the years. I'm looking forward to seeing yours. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Absolutely fantastic. You are in for a heck of a show. I am so excited. I'll have one final question. I think, what has been the most surprising part of this experience so far?
For the NASA social,
yeah,
I tried not to go in with too many expectations, because I've seen, once I got selected, I did as much research as I could into what previous NASA social participants have been able to interact and tour and things like that. So I try to keep an open mind, but low expectations. Meeting the number of people, that's honestly been the one thing that I hold most dear, is the variety of people that I've met, the variety of social influence that they have. Not everybody is a large account. We do have some very large creators here for this event. And then we have some like really small creators like myself. I only have on Instagram like 1,300 something followers and newly on Twitter. So it's very small following. But just the diversity that we have here. Some people are space nerds like myself. Some people are new to spaceflight, and we've all bonded on this experience. That's probably my favorite part. Not just touring the VAB, which not everybody gets to do, or getting to go inside one of the crawlers, but it's the people that I met is honestly my favorite part of this experience.
Yeah, I'll tell you, 10 years on, 10 plus years on at this point, from my experience, when it was NASA Tweet Up, I still talk to several people from that launch on a regular basis. They become lifelong friends. It is one of the greatest experiences that you'll have, and I hope you get to have a lot more of them. But yeah, any final thoughts? I know that we got a little past midnight here, and you got probably a lot of stuff to get ready to do. But any final thoughts on what you're anything else you're looking forward to, or anything you yeah.
Other than meeting the people that I have through the NASA Social program, but also rubbing elbows with accredited media news members. I've already met Eric Kuna. He's a hero because he's one of the ones I've learned learned the most from, as far as settings, what to look for, tips like hand warmers. It's already already feels sticky because of the dew and the humidity. And I've got hand warmers on my lenses, and I would not have known to do that if it wasn't for him. So being able to rub elbows with these heroes and these icons in the industry of spaceflight photography it's more than I can comprehend
SpaceX
and
closeout
share.
team has departed the crew arm.
But yeah, I've already got 2 of my 4 cameras set up. 3 of the 4 are actually on remote triggers. I got them on intervalometers, so they're set on a timer. So I've got the camera positions all set up, and then I will be manning my super telephoto and tracking that launch as it goes up. And I'm also able to record while I take photos at the same time.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Holly, I can't wait to see him. This has been fantastic. Have a wonderful time. Have a blast, one would say. Yes. Have a blast off. It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, thank you for taking time to talk to us today. Enjoy the ride. God, I wish I was there. I'm so glad James is. I'm so glad James gets to experience this, and that you all get to experience this. And good luck. And can't wait to see what you got.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to share it. And thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome, Holly. So what we have, again, thank you so much to Holly here for talking to us about some of her photography techniques and everything like that. Very generous of her to
thanks, Holly.
to close in on that. So closeout crew has left the arm, James. So.
Oh, thank you for that update, because I couldn't hear comms. Nor can I tell from here that the arm's still there, right? So I can still kind of see it's connected, but they've left. You guys were talking about dew. I'm not able to take a dew point measurement out here. You might be able to get that remotely. But we are at 62% humidity, and it's all over my stuff.
So let me see here. I should have an updated. The midnight observation from Cape Canaveral was a temperature of 69 degrees and a dew point of 66. So do with that information
Florida.
What you will. It's
I
Florida.
see what you did there. Do what I do.
Oh,
I
no.
just want to point out one more time. Pun not intended. Okay.
Not intended. Yeah.
I am having a blast out here, though, and that is intended. I just want to wave
I made that one
Good
too.
night, moon. Good night, moon. There. That is about to disappear behind the VAB.
Yeah, there it is.
But there's not a cloud in the sky that I can see.
No. And again, I'm looking at I've been looking at the satellite. I've been looking at the radar here. You're right. You're right. Kind of in the epicenter of that subtropical ridge. There is tremendously dry air when you get a little higher up. So
all right, I've got another one for you. Professor Marbles is here.
Professor Marbles. All right.
You want to meet Professor Marbles?
Yes.
Hi, Professor Marbles. I've got one headset. Jared, hey, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
I don't know. Super good. I can't believe that I'm here. This is nuts. I'm Professor Marbles. I'm a Florida native, and I've grown up seeing rocket launches from my backyard. And I'm looking at a rocket. It's right there. And I mean, all the other stuff that they've shown us today from like the NASA Social Tour, it's crazy. This is a truly unique experience. I strongly urge anyone to try to come out, apply, come do this. This is incredible. This is, oh my God.
It is.
Like, this is like a childhood dream come true for me.
Yeah.
This is
nothing
nuts.
compares. Nothing compares.
I've been to Kennedy Space Center like a couple of times as a kid, so like seeing the rocket garden, looking at that kind of stuff, that set the bar for me as a kid for a while. Now the bar's gone. This is nuts. I don't know. Maybe if I have a kid, this will top that. But right now, it's this. This is peak right now.
If you have a kid and then take them to a NASA social, that will top that.
That'll double it for sure.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic out there. I mean, the vantage point that you have is second to none. Aside from the guys who are in the other box up here, who are sitting on top of that bad boy right now, as the closeout crew has left, and I think the arm is still attached for now, but that should be changing here pretty soon. But tell me a little bit about kind of what brought you here and what led you to apply. And
so I do elementary level science experiments in my backyard, and my main audience is like 5th grade-ish kids in that area, just doing basic science stuff. And one day posting a video of one of my stuff on Instagram, and I got an ad, said, "Hey, do you want to come and see a rocket launch?" And I thought it was fake. I was like, what do I have to lose? I filled it out. Couple of weeks, months go by, and I got an email saying, "Hey, you've been chosen." And that was it. This is, I double checked. I called my producer friend who's on the camera right now, and he was like, "Hey, did you get this email? Like, is this real? Is this from an actual NASA? This can't be real, right?" And Googled it. Sure enough, like, yeah, this is real. And here we are. I keep waiting for like the men in black to come and like wheel me away and say, "All right, you've seen enough," and that's it. But I'm still here. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and be like, "Rockets? What rockets? There are no rockets."
Yeah, there was never a rocket. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we've never been to space. No, this is just such a, like, every day I've just woken up and it's like, all right, cool, we're gonna go, and today we're gonna see this, and we're gonna go here, and I'm blown away every single day. And of course, for our channel, this is all just incredible content of just, I can't not hit record, or I can't not take a picture. I can't not stop and read every little sign and plaque and every little whatever's laying around. I just document everything here, because there's places here that just seem like, has anyone been here? Do you guys know about this? This is so cool. I mean, everyone knows about, you can see it, the VAB behind me, like, that's cool. But like, we were in there, we went up in it, and then we went to like other parts of like the whole campus here. It's nuts. I can't, obviously, words can't describe this entire experience.
Well, let's do your best with words, and what has been the highlight? I know that everything has been awesome, but what would you say has been the highlight of the social so far?
I think the biggest highlight is just the group of people that we're with. While not everyone is science background, not everyone is space background even, just the group of people that we get to meet. And it's just kind of like, you're stuck with them for the weekend, you get to connect with them, find out about them. And that's kind of what NASA is all about, just thinking about no borders, no boundaries, thinking about all the people you can meet. And this is a small nugget of that. Yeah,
the people by far are the best of these. Viewers are sick of hearing me talk about it, but I got to do STS-135, which is the last shuttle launch, and I'll tell you what I told Holly is that some of these people will be lifelong friends. That's just the way it's going to work.
Oh yeah,
it's tremendous. It's incredible. it's such a, it's such a great bonding event, because I think we all can bond over the wonder of, strapping people on top of a rocket and sending them, into outer space. And we do it so well.
Yeah. I think for the most part, anybody that we meet here, we're just kind of like, hey, can I talk to you for a couple of seconds? And we can kind of ask them the same, like, what's your favorite rocket? Who's your favorite scientist? Like, all these people kind of seem to have that that same kind of like instant answer. So just we all have that baseline question that we can like build something off of. But yeah, all these people, we've all followed each other on all of our social media accounts. We've all like connected. We're all sharing footage and anything that we get, any nugget of information we have, it's a bond for sure.
Yeah. So fantastic. Just so fantastic. What are you looking forward to most? Is there anything, actually, let me back that up. Anything specific you're looking for, from tonight's launch, basically? Any specific thing that you're looking to take away?
How to tell people what it feels like. I've seen a rocket launch from the gaps and the branches in my backyard. I've seen a rocket launch from the side of the highway, but everyone keeps telling me you will shake, the ground will shake, like you won't know what to do. We were talking to one of the photographers here, and they're like, as much as you want to like take a picture, don't look through your camera, like just use your eyes, just soak in as much as you can. I think if I go home and I just tell everyone I see, like, you just have to go and see it for yourself, because there's no way you can describe this.
Yep. You're going to have an abject lesson in the speed of light versus the speed of sound.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I promise you that rumbling, that rumbling that you're going to feel, that is absolutely accurate. That is absolutely a real thing. It is, it's going to be so cool. I mean, it is, I am so happy for you guys. I think that's the best way to put it, is that you're going to have such a tremendous time. I would say, I mean, this, this is going to be, space for children in particular. That's, I mean, that is such a, that's such an awe-inspiring thing. That's the kind of thing that, you hit them right, and that's where, you get your next generations of the folks that we have in the bottom of the screen here. Tell me a little bit about that mission, and what got you into that, because that's a really cool thing.
Well, it was just going to be kind of me and my buddy just messing around in my backyard. His girlfriend is a 5th grade teacher, and kind of stemmed from that, just like, hey, I want to show some of these videos to my kids. I'm going to be learning about this. Can you do an experiment based on this? And we're like, yeah, sure, cool. Even more, we brought questions from her students. We were able to ask some of the astronauts, some of the other NASA staff, things straight from the kids, and just them kind of glowing from, oh my gosh, they asked my question, they answered my question. One of them was, can I work at NASA? How do I do that? And all these people, everyone I've talked to just says, like, how do I get started? And it's just like, just keep asking questions, stay curious. We end all of our videos with, always look for the science around you. And here you can't not look and not see something scientific. So I think just stay curious and be hooked on your dream, whatever it is, whatever your passion is, just stay on it.
That's a wonderful message. That's absolutely fantastic. So Professor Marbles, I hope you don't lose all your marbles at just how marvelous this is going to be. Nothing I can tell you, nothing anybody else can tell you will prepare you for what you're going to witness. It's just,
that's what I've been told. Thank you so much.
It's incredible. Thank you so much. And again, keep up the great work, and it'll be really exciting to see, what you come out with, and what you are able to, bring back to your audience. So thank you so much for joining us this evening, and enjoy the rest of the ride. I hope you have a blast, pun very much intended. And
thanks. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And, as we look, we're taking a look right now at NASA TV. Haven't heard anything from the comms folks in a while, but we are still taking a look. If you look at the bottom of the screen here, we are still seeing just the Dragon guys. Yeah.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Yeah, we still have the Dragon crew. Just
I brought food.
Getting them good. So yeah, we've got the Dragon crew still, going through their checklist here. Haven't heard much in a minute, comms wise, which is good. We've gotten some good, opportunity to talk to some really great.
And
folks.
They did not pull a Scotty Powell. It's not muted, so that's good
no,
news.
Absolutely. So that's that's even better news. But yeah, no, everything is for those of you who are joining us here, we're getting close to 12:30. So again, launched in about an hour 15 or so. Getting close to that point. Everything still appears to be on track. James, if you heard anything that would be to the contrary.
No, it's funny. I'm closer, but you're more connected than I. There's no indication out here that anything is but normal. I was thinking if we were up for it, this is live television, folks, live YouTube. I've been told that I can wander towards the press site a little bit. So I can take the camera and go that way. I don't know that the Wi-Fi is going to be smooth, but do you all want me to attempt to walk towards the countdown clock?
Yes, I think that would be a phenomenal view. This has been upgraded in recent years, and I think I personally would love to see it because the countdown clock that I remember was the old school one, the old school Apollo one. So we'll see what we get here. Let's see what happens. I know that we've had
there's no guarantees.
Yeah, and James, just so you know, we have had some little bit of stalls and hitches at times with the bandwidth out there, which is to be expected. We have a lot of people like us out there this evening.
And I will say, I feel like our lag is getting bigger.
Yeah, I can imagine that, as you get more press out there, as you get more folks getting up and running there, that you're going to have some more bandwidth challenges. But yeah, let's get out to that countdown clock there and take a look there. In the meantime, looking down at looking at NASA TV, we still see that the crew arm is attached. The crew is continuing to go through the pre-flight checks. Everything looks good.
I'm going to point out, I'm going to cut you off, Jared. I'm going to point you out. I'm going to walk past some of those tracking cameras I talked about earlier. These are the ones that are going to get those really beautiful high tracking photos.
Yep. Oh, yes.
Videos later of the actual takeoff.
Oh, yes.
TV one. I'm just going to kind of walk by casually.
Yep. Yeah, these are.
Yeah, there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those I remember those well. And again, those are, there's some darn good human photographers, but that is a very difficult shot to get when that rocket is hauling up through the speed of sound in literally no time. So,
walking past some of the local broadcast affiliates here.
Yep. And again, press row. This is if you go out to press row, if you are kind of a news hound like James and I have been over the years, it's quite a sight to see the advantages that that people like Anderson Cooper and Miles O'Brien on CNN, for example, when during the shuttle program. All of when Cronkite was doing Apollo, it was the same view.
I found Holly, guys.
Oh, good.
Holly also came over here.
Oh, yeah. Don't blame her.
All right. So I don't know if you guys can see.
Yeah, we can see it a little bit.
Countdown clock there?
Yeah. See it a little bit. And again, that's.
You're telling me to get closer?
Yeah. And at night, too. It's going to.
What happened?
At night, it'll blow out a little bit, too, because it's now a full LCD screen as opposed to the analog / pseudo digital that it was.
Let me flip this around. Higher resolution, forward facing camera. There you go.
Yeah, you can get a little bit better look at it there. Yeah. Is that Holly walking straight towards it?
It really is. It definitely is.
Yeah. That's great. It's quite a thing.
So there's the countdown clock, right? So they got the American flag. And then if you're watching NASA TV, the public broadcast, there's their little mobile stage.
Mm-hmm.
The other here.
Yeah, and that
news
bandwidth
center
is
where they'll do
definitely.
the briefings is here.
Yep. And that bandwidth
It's
is
great, isn't
definitely
it?
starting to get, it's starting to take a hit a little bit. So that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. I will say if you have to use the restroom, there's no when I was there was no partitions between the stalls. So just so you know. So it's it's definitely still very, if you're looking for 60s, if you're looking for old school, it is amazing how much there is at NASA Kennedy, which is, but it's super cool. Like, it's just it's a historic place. So much history has been made here over the years, and very few people get to make the walk that you're making. And it's super exciting.
It has been an absolute blast. And as you've been hearing from other participants, we encourage everyone to apply to the NASA Social. Obviously, we're very lucky in that we got chosen, but the fact that they take people from all walks of life with all different audience sizes and different content. I mean, you just run a Twitter account, you run an Instagram where you'd like to take pictures, albeit with a professional camera or your phone. I mean, you're eligible.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think, something that we've been talking about a lot this week, just in general, with, James, with you being there, is the diversity and the diversity of, what, people's niches are and what people are into. You have your photographers, you have your, you have your scientists and everything like that, but you have folks who are into art. You have folks who are, who, may not be necessarily very STEM adjacent at all, but it all matters. It all is important. And because this is a tremendous human achievement. And, and James, it's funny. We talk about this as, this is routine. This is, this is something low Earth orbit. Yeah, we do this all the time, but it's still pretty magical, and it's still pretty impressive at any point to do what is going to happen here tonight. It's anything but routine. I think James is frozen up a little bit. Getting into a little bit more density with the bandwidth there, and that's fine. But so we do have a question from Sabrina Sands on YouTube here. How much longer before they launch? That's a good question. Nobody likes to hear us talk all the time.
1 hour and 15 minutes of talking. More to come.
So we've got yep. So that 1:45 a.m. And if it doesn't go, then it doesn't go. There's no holds. There's none of that. There's some wiggle room, but 1:45 is the time they need to do so we can catch the space station. Is essentially the situation there. So, again, a really good question there. And James, you set it back at the VAB there.
Yeah, I'm actually going to hop off the call and rejoin, see if that helps our lag situation, Jared.
Okay, sounds good.
Back with you all folks in a minute.
Cool. So we'll get James back here shortly. And again, as we're looking in the second box here, we can see the Crew Dragon crew continuing to go through their pre-launch checklists, getting things up and running. We haven't heard much from the mission control side of things in a while. We are still listening on that, and occasionally they may jump in. We don't know when those comms are going to happen. We don't have any advanced knowledge of that. But we will be listening in. But again, we are at 12:30 a.m. At 1:45 a.m. Eastern. Crew-6 is going to lift off and head towards the International Space Station, and then from there, we're sending up 2 Americans. We're sending up somebody from the UAE. And we're sending somebody up from Russia. So again, a truly international effort here. Borders don't matter in space, and that's a beautiful thing. And it really, there is something poetic about that that we really like. So we got James back here. Put him back in the box here. So James, looks like you're back up and running there, right outside the VAB. And
put me in a box.
Well, we're all in a box. I mean, all in a box. But
No putting baby in a corner.
Yeah. But James, I know, 12:30 here. Pretty soon, the International Space Station is going to fly over.
Yeah, so Jim Reed is going to come on over at about 12:50 and help us hopefully get to hear the International Space Station fly over. He's with the group Eris, if I'm not mistaken. Boy, I hope I got that right. That helps connect school students with astronauts on the International Space Station.
Super cool. Super cool.
I actually wonder, Jared, and I'm just thinking out loud here, I wonder if that NASA TV feed has any additional audio for us as we continue to wait for more audio on our other conference bridge.
Yeah, let me
Find
take
out.
that. Let's find out. Let's join some NASA TV real quick. And nope.
Nope.
Nothing there.
I just jinxed us. Now we're gonna get double audio later. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and set that back to mute for now, but we're gonna peek in and out of that over time.
Yeah.
As we get closer to the launch in particular, we should be.
We've been talking a lot about how this event is open to anyone, right? They don't. You still have to apply, and they choose people, but anyone can apply. But if you love space, the stuff that we're showing you is also available to the public, albeit on YouTube or via. I don't know how many people have backyard satellite receptions anymore, but like this feed, right, from inside the space capsule, that's taxpayer funded. It is coming to you from NASA TV, as is that audio bridge. If you go to NASA's website and dig around a little bit, there are like phone conferences and things that you can dial into and just kind of be a fly on the wall. Or come here and we'll do it for you.
Yeah, we got you covered here, and we can actually add a little bit of translation where we need to, especially around that damage avoidance maneuver.
Yeah, what was that one? P something.
PDAM. Yeah, the PDAM. So
PDAM.
Yeah, so that is those kinds of things that they got to do. But again, everything is looking really good. And again, if you're enjoying what you're seeing here, please, feel free to send us a super chat, super thanks. Love this, love the support to continue to provide you with these kinds of views. And again, this is a first for us here at the Carolina Weather Group, and I'm super excited about it. I know James.
Let me peel back the curtain, because when you apply to NASA Social, they ask you what type of content you're going to make. So I sent them our Carolina Weather Group live stream that we did with Tony Rice, NASA ambassador in Raleigh, and our own Dan Whitaker, drone photographer and space photographer, of NASA Wallops launch, which is in Virginia. A lot of times you can see it in the Carolina skies, right? And so I showed them, like, this is the type of thing we do. We intersect science and weather and space. And then if it's something that our weather watchers could go outside to become sky watchers for, that's what we do. We did have the question earlier whether or not this launch is going to be visible in the Carolinas. Most likely not, because it's going it is kind of going to the north and to the east, but really the problem is going to just be that we don't have that sun to backlight it. When we have that sun to backlight it during sunrise or sunset, you kind of get the dusk on the horizon, and that light is still up there illuminating the upper atmosphere. That's really when you see it.
Yeah, and the other part of that for the Carolinas is going to be clouds. We're gonna run into some trouble there with that as well, and we have a fair bit of high cloud cover over the Carolinas this evening, so that's going to make it even tougher for anybody to see anything. So, but crystal clear down in Florida, which is
crystal clear,
which is wonderful. Sabrina on YouTube is asking James, what is the most exciting thing you've seen while you've been there?
Oh, the aliens. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. And now I'm being escorted away. We got to see things that I was not expecting to see. I tried to keep my expectations extremely low, but the things that come to mind to me that really I was not expecting to see. Obviously, I was expecting to see the outside of the VAB building. You can't miss it. But I wasn't expecting to go inside the VAB building. I wasn't expecting to climb up onto a crawler. I wasn't expecting to see the astronaut walk out. Matter of fact, I kind of actually kept that as a secret, because I think they were looking for a little cherry on top for our NASA social weekend. And plus, there are a lot of operational complexities around trying to get a busload of people over there to watch the astronaut send off. So those are the three things that come to mind. But we've shown you some of them in our broadcast tonight. We could not do this broadcast tonight, shameless plug, if it wasn't for Jared, who's holding down the fort, and our video editor, Peter, in New Jersey, who, that poor man, has been getting nothing but unorganized video footage from me. Because we've just been running around, right? We've been on the bus, we get off the bus, and they go, you got 10 minutes, go. And you're like, okay. So Peter's just been getting all these video files. So all the pieces of video you're seeing tonight is Peter just getting, it's like being in someone else's like iCloud. You're like, I don't know what these are, but I'm going to try to make art out of them. So
yeah,
we have more stuff that we couldn't fit into tonight's live broadcast that you will see a week from Wednesday, whatever day that is. A behind the scenes vlog of us running and gunning from place to place. Our astronauts still look comfy cozy.
Mm-hmm.
You got to think they're wondering the same thing we're thinking right now. It was like, hey, can we get this on? Let's go.
Yeah. But we gotta get the ISS in position first.
We do need to get the ISS in position first. And again, we're going to actually listen to the ISS coming up here at about 12:57 a.m. Eastern time, thanks to amateur radio.
Yep. I'm gonna unmute NASA TV again, just see if there's any.
Right. Well, because and I think that's probably pertinent because there's a lot of handoffs happening here. You've got Kennedy who does the launch. You've got the space flight that's Houston. You've got SpaceX that's involved. So it's hard to know when they're going to move from one conference bridge to the next.
Yeah. So we're gonna just keep listening in from time to time, and we'll be checking on that. But so far so good. Again, James, from my vantage point here. No sign of any trouble. Everything's looking really good. The weather briefing continues to be A+.
Beautiful. I think everyone wants to try to get us off the ground today. Now, Jared, on Saturday, the NASA social participant, myself included, had a chance to meet two astronauts, one current generation, one former shuttle and now current administrator, along with some other folks here at NASA. And somebody asked, I thought, a really good question about how do astronauts sleep on the International Space Station? 4 astronauts going up today will spend probably at least one night sleeping in their Crew Dragon capsule, and then they have to get acclimated to space, where they will have to try to sleep over the next 6 months. And it's not as easy as it sounds. We got a really good answer here from astronaut Raja Chari, who was the commander of Crew-3 and is in the running for the Artemis program. And here's what he told one of my fellow NASA social participants.
Hi, I'm Mario Puzo, coming from Los Angeles, California. I'm really curious, how is the sleep experience while you're out in space? And what are your dreams like? Is there anything special that you can share with us?
You want to go first? Sure, I'll talk. So I think the first sensation to kind of work through, and it's a little bit different for everyone. Everyone sleeps a little bit, restrains himself a little differently, but I'm sure you've all had that feeling when you start to fall asleep at night, and if your arm goes off the corner of the bed or something like that, and you like startle up, and you've probably all had the experience of being in a roller coaster and the feeling of your stomach coming up. So you have that. I mean, you are in free fall when you're in space, and so as soon as you close your eyes, you snap back awake because your body is telling you you're falling. So it's really hard for your brain to ignore that, because if you were to be falling, like walking forward and falling, you couldn't fall asleep while you're falling. It's just your brain won't allow that to happen. You'll wake up before you hit the ground. So it takes different people different times, but for me, about 2-ish days to actually get over that feeling and be able to close my eyes and not have my brain kick yourself back awake. In terms of dreams, I don't honestly remember any significant changes, but I do distinctly remember both on the way up and the way down. The first time on the way up, so on orbit, I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks in, was the first time I had a dream where I was floating in the dream. And that next day was the first time that as much as you can use the walls and the ceiling in space, you'll always reorient your body for conversations and to talk, to work in the way that it looks like on the ground, because the laptops and the equipment is oriented a certain direction. But after that time, it didn't matter. And I could come around a corner, it didn't matter. It was, and all of a sudden, like, you notice little things. So like the first few weeks, the ground is always asking, like, did you power off that payload? And that's their gentle way of saying, hey, idiot, you like kicked it with your foot, because we're just like tearing through Ethernet cables and bumping into things. But after that 3 weeks, once that clicked, it was like, oh, everything makes sense. And you just notice, like, just floating through, you just see something just like you can now in your house, like right away, you're like, that's out of place. And that was when I had that dream on the way. After I landed, the first time I got up in the middle of the night, like it was like 10 hours after we landed. And even though the chair was on the ground, I could not convince myself, this was dark in the room, we're in crew quarters, that I was not standing on the wall. Like I actually had to have my wife like come like help me get off the ground because I was convinced I was going to fall over because I was on the wall. Obviously I was not on the wall. I was the chair. I was doing this with the chair, but I couldn't connect. And then about the first good sleep I had that wasn't ambient induced after landing, I had a dream where I was talking to people in the PMM and they were floating, but I was standing on the ground in the PMM. And when I woke up from that, everything was fine, like totally back to normal. So it's amazing what your brain does. And we talk about you're like a baby in space. You can't eat on your own. You can't poop or pee on your own. You really can't do anything on your own, much like a baby. And just like a baby, all you want to do is sleep because your brain is doing a whole bunch of rewickering in the background, which is actually one of the things we study with some of the grasp experiments and some stuff for sensory deprivation. So it's pretty cool how your brain rewires itself, and it takes effort and energy for it to do that. But yeah, everyone, and then once you do adjust to sleeping, some people like to be bungeed in, some people like to free float. I know on the shuttle, different people did different things. So that's kind of personal preference, but it's the best sleep I've had in my life. I have 3 young kids, so no one was waking me up in the middle of the night. So it was awesome.
I didn't have any problem sleeping, but I found out I didn't need to sleep as much. I don't know, maybe it wasn't, we were really busy, but I will go along with what you're saying about you can really tell first-time flyers from folks that have flown more than once in the experience. I remember on my last flight, Sergei Krikalev, who had been a year for a space, it was like poetry in motion, watching him move through the vehicle. And on a previous flight, I had a newbie that flew with us, and it was like they were bouncing off the walls the whole time, even after 2 weeks. They hadn't adapted to zero G. The interesting thing is the physiological aspects that Raj was talking about. It takes time to adapt to zero G and time to adapt to 1G coming back. But with each flight, you learn, your brain remembers. And I'll never forget my second flight. Once we got to zero G, it was like, hey, I'm here, I'm back. It's amazing. So you adapt quicker each time to both zero G and 1G with the number of flights. I never had any weird dreams, but something that's really cool is, especially on a high inclination flight, it's all dark and you're sleeping at night, and all of a sudden one of these high energy particles hits your retina and you get this flash in your eye from so that's kind of interesting.
Cool, but also depressing. It's like that's my cornea getting bombarded by radiation. So, but it's
and Jared may cut you off. You'll hear mission audio. So if they say,
Yep, and we are back. So we're back.
They were saying something there on the mission audio. I didn't catch all of it. I think we must be itching towards starting to put some fuel in this vehicle. But I think before they do that, I wonder if the arm is going to move out of the way first. We can still see the arm there. Mm-hmm. Crew Dragon is right at the top where you can see the American flag. Most of what you see when you see that rocket is just booster engines to get us off planet Earth. And it's just that tiny little thimble at the top that's going to dock with the International Space Station. SpaceX has begun really good, not to jinx them, at getting their boosters back down. And so we may or may not have visuals via satellite of the booster rocket coming back down on the drone ship that's out in the Atlantic Ocean. We will not see it here in person in Kennedy, but you all at home might be able to see it if they've got the comlink.
Yeah, and what we're going to do...
Dragon SpaceX, you are go for section 5 of 4.100. When ready, report go for launch.
Hey, we copy. We're picking up in 5.1 of 4.100.
Again, we're going to go through that checklist very meticulously here.
Meanwhile, I'm frantically Googling what that means.
Well, I don't believe we've done the cabin pressure test yet. I know we did a lot of comm checking. So that's on the list. We need to move the arm. We need to fuel the vehicle. Yep. We also, at some point, will get the big go, 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 go from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
By everybody, I mean the launch director, weather.
Yep. And we are now an hour out from launch. So 12:45 a.m. International Space Station is going to make its pass in about 10 minutes. And and things are going to really start to happen fast after that.
Yes, they are. Aviation is back out, and we're keeping an eye on things. Again, at the press site here, we're 3.5 miles away, which is mostly a safety thing for the astronauts, but also for us. And so an hour. We only got an hour. I could stand here. I could sit here all night. I'd be happy to.
SpaceX Dragon, we are go for launch.
All right. Crew is go for launch.
SpaceX copies,
ready.
crews go.
That's the best news I've heard all night.
And again, everything has been to this point, knock on wood, moving according to plan. Comm checks all successful. Seal checks all successful. We got to, if you were watching us earlier, you got to see them go over the seal on the door with a fine-tooth comb. It felt like
I did.
And everything is moving along quite nicely. Again, we've done this a few times at this point, so this is the 6th crewed mission of the Dragon spacecraft, and
the 7th of the SpaceX cooperation, because we had that demo flight.
Yes. So, looking pretty good here. Getting a nice little view of the VAB
But that's
right now.
probably the helicopter.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful shot. That helicopter just did a beautiful shot heading from that meatball that's behind me out to the launch pad about 3.5 miles away. That might be, was it Shannon Gregory, Jim? Is that was the gentleman's name? The head of aviation who we met in his hangar the other day. Well, another one of those unscheduled, the bus just pulled in and you happen to be free to talk to us moments.
It's
Good job,
amazing.
Shannon.
Yeah, it's amazing who you run into.
Jim Reed's standing here to talk to you guys about ham radio, and he's telling me there were 8 or 9 radios on the thing. That's right. You asked him how many different radios he had, right? He's got to talk to the TV producers. He's got to talk about security. He's got to talk to air clearance. He's got to talk to chips. Oh, ships. Oh, that's right. They also clear out the mariners who are not supposed to be in this area. We talked. Somebody asked him, and made it to Jim. You buzz the boats and be like, yeah, get out of the way. He's like, we have a sign and frantic waving, and then they'll use the Marine band to say, this is NASA, you need to move. I don't know what they say. That's how I imagine it. Oh, and medevac, yes.
Do you remember a few years ago when there was a boat that just was not responsive and it actually scrubbed a launch and people made a Twitter account about it? Because of course you do.
Yeah, I do vaguely remember that. I also don't, I guess I'm wondering, could they move it? I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
I think as long as it's not a balloon, but I know that's a sore subject these days. But
let's talk about radios, shall we? You want to talk more about radios?
Yeah, no, we'll definitely get into radios.
Why don't we start this with Jim's question to Raja at our panel on Saturday, and then Jared, you can pick up the conversation with Jim here as we anticipate a flyover from the International Space Station. So let's go to that piece of tape.
And here we go.
Commander Cabana and Astronaut Chari, thank you very much. My name's Jim Reed. You might recognize a call sign, N4BFR. I'm part of amateur radio on the International Space Station team, and I want to thank you very much for your support of Colonel Cabana, SARX, and Astronaut Chari, the ARIS program when you were up. Can you talk a little bit about how your experience with amateur radio and NASA going together, as well as, I don't know if you're aware, but the 40th anniversary of ham radio contact from human space flight is coming up at the end of the year, and any thoughts on that as well?
Well, I'll go first. KC-5HBV. I think what it did on the shuttle, it allows us to reach a group of students, of folks on the ground. It just generates interest in science and engineering. And, when you go along with what is required to build a radio, to operate a radio and communicate with somebody in space, that's really cool. And to be able to reach down to students from space and be able to share with them over shortwave radio, I thought it was really a fun thing to do.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it's you mentioned it's kind of a capstone project for students, and it's a cool thing to actually do with the project. So you're not just building a radio or, you know, going through the mechanics of it. You actually get to use it at the end, and then to talk to the space station is pretty awesome. I got to talk to some Japanese students, and it was definitely a highlight. We used it in one of our sims as well, because if you lose space to ground loops and the Russian comm system, you can actually use the ham radio. So it is a tertiary and quaternary backup, if you will, and you have to then convince the person on the ground that you're not hoaxing them. Like, no kidding, this is the ISS. Go call someone. Call Houston. So it's got a practical side too, other than the educational part.
Thanks for asking, Jim.
We're gonna go. And all right, we're back now with Jim Reed, ham radio operator, who, among other things, helps folks get in contact with the ISS, International Space Station, with that little guy right there, the ham radio. Jim, welcome to Carolina Weather Group. Excited to have you around and have you along this evening. And I know in a few minutes we're going to try and hear something. We're going to try and hear the people bouncing off the space station. Yes.
Yes. So the International Space Station, NASA and the International Space Station, as you just heard, and ham radio have a long relationship. I mean, this dates back to the 1960s, launching satellites in orbit. So we've had ham radio in space since 1961. The ISS has 2 ham radios on it, and there's really 3 purposes for it. First is the ability it's an educational purpose. So we use the radios to put astronauts in touch with students on the ground, and they get to ask students questions about their time in space. So it can be anything from the common, what do you do to go to the bathroom in space, for younger kids. But for the older kids, it's really mature, very interesting questions. And this is kind of a culmination of studies. So they will work and will provide curriculum that lets them learn about how circuits are made and how radio waves work. And then we culminate all of that with the live contact with the astronaut over a 10-minute period one day. And that's really popular. We do between 60 and 80 of those around the world every year. And the Sultan, Sultan Al Nahari, who's going up, is very interested in doing this. He's got 7 or 8 of these scheduled while he's up. So we're very excited to be working with them. Amateur Radio on International Space Station is the name of the group. And then the other two options we do is there's radios are up there. They're being used, 10 or 20 minutes a day or a week to do these student contacts. The rest of the time, they're ham radio repeaters. So just like they might be on top of a big building in Charlotte, there's one up on top of the space station. And we're listening for, in the next couple of minutes, the space station will pass over, and I'll try and listen see if anybody's sending up a signal. Heard earlier this afternoon, I picked up a signal from Canada while I was riding around here that somebody was working the International Space Station. The third part is, as you heard Raj say, it's emergencies, when all else fails, which is what ham radio does, right? We provide backups when the power goes out. If street lights go out in town, traffic lights, they may call ham radios to help out, not to direct traffic, but to help with communications, those kind of things. We've helped out in hurricanes and tornadoes and so many other things. So same kind of thing when all else fails is one of the reasons why ham radio is on the space station.
That's fantastic, and it just makes sense. It never occurred to me that it kind of would blow people's mind to think, yeah, you can just beam up a radio, just any old ham radio can just get in touch.
Yeah, so this is not the optimal antenna to do it. If I was going to be doing it, I'd probably use a directional antenna. But with this, I can probably pick them up as the ISS passes over. We have 2 things working in our favor right now. One is height. It's just above us. There's nothing else between us and it. So even though it's a fairly low power signal, it's only 5 watts. Because it's so high and it's unobscured, we may be able to pick something up here today. But lots of hams, just as a hobby, they'll go out in their backyard and they'll use a directional antenna and they'll try and bounce either a voice signal and talk to somebody else, or a digital signal and use send a packet up and down and be able to listen for that as well. Don't have that on this particular radio, but we're going to try and listen to some voice repeater stuff as we go along. Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. How long of a window do you usually have with an ISS pass to pick anything up?
On a good pass, it's between 8 and 12 minutes, horizon to horizon. A lot of it depends on, we're here at the Kennedy Space Center. It's really flat and open, right? If I was in Charlotte, I got more to deal with mountains, those kind of things. So I need to, position myself appropriately to get the best pass. And the ISS doesn't always pass straight overhead, right? It may pass off to the east or the west, and you have to take that into account as well. So all those different things, it makes it a little skillful to be able to do. We the fun part though is, on a very rare occasion, and I always have to say very rare occasion, an astronaut on the space station will pick up the microphone and just start talking to hams. So instead of working the repeater, you're working an astronaut, and they'll come on. Kel Lindgren was really good at this. He was on Crew-6. And he was great at he'd get on and he'd operate for a few hours, and around the world people would talk to him, and he'd just come on and he goes, "Welcome to the International Space Station," and he writes down your call sign, and you can get a cool card that confirms it and everything. But what better way to play radio than to hear an astronaut tell you to welcome to the station? So that's really one of the cool experiences you get to have doing this, and anybody can do it. It's it only takes the most basic level of license to be able to do this in ham radio. I'm listening for this as we go. I'm listening for the ISS as we go along. Haven't heard anything yet. So let me tell you a little bit about licensing. Ham radio is licensed by the FCC because we get special frequencies to use. So these are frequencies that you wouldn't normally be able to use if you had a GMRS handheld or a family radio service handheld or a CB. In exchange for that, you've got to take a test. It's 35 questions. It asks you at the really simple things like, if you're into electronics, what's the difference between a resistor and a capacitor? So understanding basic electronics is one of the things. Battery safety. A lot of it is really based on just kind of knowing the frequencies, how signals work, those kind of things. There's a lot of study information online. If you're interested, just look online, ham radio training, and you're able to find out more about this. But it's a really cool opportunity to do it. 35 questions, $35 for your license, and you're ready to go. So I am totally ready to explain more of that if you want me to.
Absolutely. I know that I've got to renew my ticket pretty soon. Actually, it's been about a decade, and I know.
Yep. I am N4 BFR, and that is a vanity call sign. I've been licensed about 15 years. Just was bored one weekend on a vacation and listening to shortwave things from around the world, and read some information. It's like, you can be a ham, no Morse code required. Take this test. And I took a practice test and I passed it. So I went the next weekend and took the formal test and got licensed. N4 BFR is a vanity call sign, so I got to customize it a little bit. But it's been a great experience to do a ton of different ham radio things. It's an inch wide. You can go an inch wide and a mile, or an inch deep and a mile wide, or a mile deep and an inch wide if you're only want to focus on emergency communications or building radios or talking to satellites, international shortwave kind of stuff. There's so many different elements that make up.
Goal is complete, and the team is ready for crew access arm retract, propellant load, and launch.
Awesome.
There you go.
Rooms will go into lockdown at T-5 minutes and remain in that state until the launch escape system is disarmed. All operators are to remain in their console and maintain a sterile cockpit until MD confirms successful disarming of the launch escape system following orbit insertion or propellant offload in the event of a scrub. For non-urgent no-go conditions, brief the CE or the LD, and they'll approve aborting the launch countdown. For urgent issues affecting the safety of the operation, Operators shall call hold on the countdown net. Launch control will abort the launch out of sequence immediately and proceed into the launch abort sequence. At T-minus 10 seconds, launch control will be hands off, relying on automated abort criteria for the remainder of the count. Operators advise the launch vector whether structural breakup is imminent or occurring per Dragon manual escape flight rules. Launch control, you may proceed with arming the crew arm for movement.
They're retracting the crew arm.
Proceeding with crew arm movement.
All right. Jim, I'm going to take that full on our screen. We'll still be able to talk, but I want to make sure that our audience can see the crew arm retraction here.
Absolutely. And I just let James know he's right back here.
Yeah.
Hanging out.
That's great.
He's been my bus buddy. We've been sitting across the hall from each other the whole trip. He's telling me about weather and I'm telling him about ham radio.
Oh, that's wonderful.
They're both complementary things.
Oh, it's completely complementary. I mean, Skywarn Nets. We could do a whole Carolina Weather Group show on just the importance of amateur radio to, operational meteorologists in the field and just the overall emergency communications. Yep, there goes.
Access arm retraction has started.
Yeah, and Jim, you're hearing the and everyone, you're hearing the communications between the various folks who are making this all work. We're dialed in on a phone line, and there it is. There goes the crew arm right there, retracting back. So again, we're at a little past 1 a.m. at this point, and it's
So some of us who are hanging around here are actually listening in on ham radio. So there's right behind me on top of the vehicle assembly building, the Kennedy Space Center Amateur Radio Club, and there is such a thing. They have a repeater. They rebroadcast the same information you're hearing so we can listen on handhelds around while we're listening to that. And same thing, when that's not in use for doing this, you can talk to other hams and catch up on news of the day or whatever, storm chasing, whichever you were. Storm chasing is a lot of fun, and yes, I could go off on a whole different thing too. And I really like the folks. I'm out of Atlanta. The folks at the National Weather Service in Peachtree City and the hams down there that interface with them are great people.
Absolutely, and radio amateurs in general are just some of the best people you'll ever meet. Just so eager to teach, so happy for people to learn. I absolutely love the community. It's absolutely fantastic. We might have to get you on for a show just about ham radio and the weather. So I mean,
I would be more than happy to come back and bring some friends.
Yeah, no, we definitely need to do that. So have you heard anything from your past?
I'm
guessing it's family.
There's a bus coming through. Have I heard anything from
anything on the radio?
No, I have not heard anything from the satellites. And I just hit the wrong button and turned it off instead of nothing from the ISS. If I wasn't chatting, I'd probably try and spot it trying to fly through the sky. Because usually on a really clear night like this, you can see it. But I have not. No luck this time, and we're about 3 minutes left in the pass. So I doubt that it might have been. It wasn't that high of a pass, and as I said before, height makes a difference. So it may just have been behind the VAB the entire time, and we might not have heard it because we're occluded by that.
No, that makes sense.
But hey, there's always next time too.
Absolutely.
So, all these folks are they're going into launch control. Oh yes. So right at the bottom of the VAB here is the launch control facility, and a bus just pulled up with some security officers, and they are looked like the family convoy we saw earlier when we were at the walkout for the astronauts. So I'll bet you it's the family going in to watch. I will say I've loved everything that NASA has offered us this week. But I really had my fingers crossed that we'd get to go in the launch control facility. That's like the one thing that we didn't get to do this time. Of course, I guess I could say we didn't get to walk up the tower and go on a rocket.
Crew access arm retraction complete.
That's a totally different level of expectation too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to have a little bit more training to get on the rocket. But...
Yes. Absolutely. Yep. Hey, thank you very much for having me on. Let me give you back to James, and y'all can finish up, and you're doing a great job. Thank you for having me on today.
Hey, thank you, Jim, so much, and keep up the great work that you're doing, connecting kids to the ISS. Awesome work.
Yep. If you want to follow, since we're all about social here, if you want to follow us on social, ARIS, ARISSINTL, ARIS International. Will find us on Facebook,
Dragon,
Instagram,
SpaceX,
Twitter.
you are go for Section 6. Close visors and arm launch escape system.
Nice. And we're on
Nice.
that.
All right, Section
Okay, thank you,
is
James.
in work.
Thank you, Jim.
I know
All
Jared's
right.
on Mastodon too.
Yeah.
SpaceX Dragon visors are closed.
All right. So James, they're closing their visors now.
Ooh, I wear sunglasses at night too.
Yep, and they're arming the launch control. I want to say the launch escape system is being armed. Again, the crew arm is being
SpaceX
retracted.
Dragon arming and launch escape system.
SpaceX copies.
I'm glad somebody copied that because I sure as heck didn't.
I'll take a number 3 supersize.
Yeah. Yeah. But you can see here that, as has been the theme most of the night, things are progressing, and
Yeah, we are
on track.
38 minutes.
Yep. We are on track for launch at 1:45 a.m. Again, we just had that International Space Station pass. Unfortunately, we weren't able to hear anything on the radio, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Hey, we tried, and we're trying to use
escape system is verified armed.
It blows my mind that we can use a tiny ground-based handheld radio to listen to a spaceship. In essence, unbelievable.
Can we take this aerial shot full? I just love the work that NASA does, and this aerial shot is just unbelievable.
They really put a lot of love into this. I mean, that is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
And again, they've got a fleet of helicopters here on Kennedy that support television, security, and medical. I'm going to say research.
Mm-hmm. Well, keep in mind too. I mean, you can gather a lot of information about the vehicle just by flying around it and looking at it. Spot anomalies. You can spot.
Sure.
There's the more cameras, the better on these things. And we learned that in the shuttle program a couple times, unfortunately, for horrible reasons. And but I remember after the Columbia accident. One of the things that came out of that was they're going to put more cameras on around the shuttle. You could go on the solid rocket boosters and you would see a fuel tank view and everything like that, and that was so cool.
Well, of course, SpaceX has taken that to the next level because now you can actually see booster separation from inside the hatch.
Yeah,
Good to see that coming up here tonight.
Yep, and again, that's going to be just. This is it's so great just to watch this stuff in the age that we have, with tiny cameras, tiny high resolution cameras, go anywhere, just what we can gather. And then the views that we see are the only better way to see it is to actually be sitting in the Crew Dragon capsule tonight.
I was just wondering as they close their visors, I wonder if there are helmet cams. Not for us to see, but for the people back there in that building to see. And not the VAB. Again, the launch control is also like right there.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, if you think about it, there's a lot you could see from that. There's, sure. Helmet cam could give you actually some pretty decent vantage points on things. Just. What are they saying? There's just any sort of data there is.
Propellant load has started.
Okay, propellant load has started. We're feeling this bad boy.
All right. It is. I think Michelle and Michelle on YouTube has put it better than any of us could do, and that is getting real now. And
there's a vehicle coming back from the side. The road that runs out to the launch complex. I can't tell you who's in that vehicle. Maybe it's just security. But I'm thinking about the fact that arm has retracted. We haven't seen the ninjas in a little while. They're going to want to secure that area of personnel. I wonder if that's maybe.
Very possibly.
Out there?
At some point, you're starting to load fuel into this thing, and the only people you want out there at that point are the people on top of the rocket. We get progressively further into this. They want to start moving people away, and if we're loading fuel, that's obviously a good sign. It's where we want to be at this point. 1:11 a.m.
Yeah, when we went out to the launch pad the other day, they used the same emergency evac system that was developed, at least during shuttle, if not during Apollo. If they had to leave that Dragon right now, they would take the most thrilling and scariest zip line ride of their life from the top of that launch tower. There are literally just like baskets they hop into to propel them away from the complex. We're obviously hoping there's no need for those.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to see any of that. And and again, today so far everything seems good. Continuing to look at the weather, continuing to look at the satellite imagery and everything there, we're looking really good as far as weather goes there. So if this thing doesn't go, it's not the weather people, it's not the meteorologist's fault. Don't blame the weather people.
Well, you talked about before, it could be a boat, it could be mechanical. We were doing a Carolina Weather Group live stream one morning with Tony Rice, NASA ambassador out of Raleigh, and we were monitoring a Wallops launch that we thought was going to be visible in the Carolina sky, and they scrubbed it because a fire alarm went off in the launch control.
Yeah. Space flight is not easy, and everything has to go right.
A lot of things have to go right.
Yeah. They're not going to, that's just the way this goes.
Yeah.
So.
Now, here's a new thing I learned. Lots of new things I learned. But we were talking about the zip lines. There are also guide wires that are attached to the tower, to the lightning rod. And it just obviously keeps things in place and tight. But when they go to launch the rocket, there's like an opening in the guide wires, right? Where obviously they need clearance. But I never realized how close things were. Obviously the arm has moved away. The tower is going to like push back a little bit from its brace. But there's also like guide wires that are like right there. You can't see them at night in these pictures, but I was like, that was something in real life I had to see.
Oh yeah. And again, intricate systems to send people into space. Yeah, I think you're starting to see maybe some steam there. Is that very cold liquid propellant?
Correct. That is completely normal.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm glad you pointed that out. It's hard for me to see on my tiny little screen out here, so I'm glad you pointed that out so we can let people know that is to be expected.
Yes, absolutely. This is everything here is according to plan. That liquid propellant is cold, and it kind of defies what you would think, but it is very, very, very chilly, and so that's going to be as they're getting all that, getting everything fueled up, ready to go.
Well, I'll tell you something we learned when we went to the Space Force Museum. This will be coming out in our full episode of the Carolina.
H1 cryo helium loading has started.
But they used to measure that by weight. So when they originally did this, they used a big scale, and they would know the weight of the rocket, the weight of the fuel, and when the weight of the combined got low enough, they knew that they needed to put more fuel on.
Oh wow!
It looks like a giant scale, like a giant scale you would see at a carnival.
Yeah.
So right on schedule, at T-minus 35 minutes, the RP-1 rocket grade kerosene loading and first stage liquid oxygen has begun here. We're ahead of our 1:45 a.m. Eastern time anticipated liftoff. The launch escape system was also armed, as we talked about, for the Dragon spacecraft, which I don't know if we mentioned yet, is named Endeavour. It's armed now. So from liftoff until they reach orbit, which is roughly 12 minutes after liftoff, the crew would be able to escape safely in the case of an unlikely event.
Good to know. I think again, it's these contingencies and everything.
Oh yes.
I mean,
thank you. Thank you. They recorded a good coverage. Jim walked off with one of my microphones.
Oh, whoops.
Hope he also didn't go to the restroom like I did.
No, there no none of that. No.
Okay, he's confirming nothing from the ISS pass, but we'll it's something, you try it again. It comes around. How many times a day does it come around?
Couple of good passes and then a couple of mediocre
He
ones.
says a couple of good passes and a couple of mediocre ones.
Yeah, that thing is.
It makes a revolution every 92 minutes.
Every 92 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that thing's hauling the mail up there. I mean, it is. That is.
Sunrise, sunset.
I mean, that is.
That's gotta hurt. It's gotta hurt your brain.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. So, again, right now, just watching the fueling of the rocket here that'll take Crew Dragon up, and we're about 30 minutes away from launch. I'm Jared in Charleston. That's James down in Kennedy Space Center with Carolina Weather Group. He was fortunate enough to join us, join the NASA Social.
Can they see our pretty faces, or?
They see your pretty face. Yeah, they couldn't see mine, but that's fine. That's probably for the best.
That's okay. Pretty soon, I think we're just going to watch the pretty rocket, because that's what.
Nobody's here for us, James. I mean, let's just be honest with ourselves. Nobody's here. Nobody's here for us. It's just we are here to look at that rocket in the corner, which will be a pretty dramatic and a really exciting view here. In the next less than half hour now, heading towards launch. So again,
when it goes up, I'm just going to be staring that way. That's what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, as you should. That's the way to do it. If there's one thing that we've,
I think our connection just timed out.
No. Oh, I don't know. No.
I think that was Google Hangouts timing out of the phone bridge.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
So why don't you talk for a minute, and I'll try to get that back up.
All right. So we're gonna get the phone bridge back up, and that has been the way that we have, that is how we have been listening in to our mission control folks.
I bet you the NASA TV would also have the same audio.
Probably. I'm gonna go ahead and unmute that for the time being. I'll mute that, and we're gonna unmute that, and we're gonna see what we can get here. But again, watching NASA TV right now. In the panel over here, you can see a lot of. I'm going to take myself out of here so you can see. Really, here is the rocket being fueled right now. Again, liquid propellant being loaded into the rocket. There, you see a lot of steam emanating from it. That propellant is cold. But when you bring them together, when you bring that reaction together, it's a much different story. To put it mildly. So again, James is going to be taking care of that, and going to be taking care of our feed there. We're going to be listening in on NASA TV and kind of watching with you here over the next 30 minutes as we get ready for what should be a pretty nice launch. Again, everything is looking good. Weather's looking good. Let's go. Let's take a second here and take a look at and take a look at the radar and the satellite here. And let me I gotta make a change here real quick. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the radar satellite view. So we can kind of show you what we've got going on here. And again, it's looking pretty good so far. No major weather concerns as far as what we're seeing.
Stage 2 cryo-helium loading has started.
Okay, so the second stage is now being fueled, as you can hear, and we're going to keep an ear on that as time goes on. Going to move off the NASA TV here for a minute. We'll go back to my video here, and we'll show you the satellite and the satellite and radar. And again, as you can see here, this is pretty quiet. Over the Carolinas, we have some high clouds moving over. That's kind of the top of that subtropical ridge that has kept things actually mighty warm over the last several days, particularly where I am in South Carolina. But right over Tampa, Miami, in this area here, we'll zoom back in. As you can see, pretty clear on the infrared satellite here. Radar is very quiet. Weather is not a problem tonight. The weather wing at the Space Force has made that call pretty early on, pretty easy call to make. We don't have any issues tonight with the weather in. So if something does goes south, if the rocket develops an issue, that'll really be the only reason why we see any delays tonight. I was hoping against hope that we would get the we would get a mesoscale sector set up with the GOES East satellite over Florida, but there is an ongoing severe weather outbreak in the plains that is decidedly kind of preempted that idea. But sometimes what they'll do is they'll put a satellite sector over Florida that gives us updates every minute. And what's cool about that is that we have products now that can actually isolate those plumes of smoke, the plumes of the fire breathing out of the rocket there, and we can sometimes get a pretty good look at things with that. So we'll see if we get it with the typical 5-minute view here. And again, I've got it up on another screen that just keep an eye on things, but unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to have that. So again, taking a look right now at the crew of Crew-6. Crew Dragon 6, everyone is just kind of waiting. They're fueled up here as we get closer and closer to launch here. It is 1:22 a.m. here over on the East Coast, and we're just the team is getting ready to get going here. Take a look. You really see that steam now that they're getting that second stage fueled up. Now you can really start to see that rocket is starting to really steam. And again, that's that very cold propellant against, almost 70-degree temperatures this evening in Florida. Again, this is Florida. This is a little bit more of a tropical climate to be expected. This is, February can get pretty cold down there at times, but this is a situation where, we've gotten maybe a little bit, not too bad here. So it's a nice night. It's certainly a nice night to be out in Florida, honestly, all things considered, as we get ready for this launch. So we got James coming back now. Looks like we've got him. And James will rejoin you in a second.
I sneezed. Which I also did during the live panel the other day. So
yeah, there you go.
We got our audio bridge back.
Oh yeah. Okay, cool. So and again, I've not heard anything so far. It looks like the Kennedy Space Center. It looks like they've gone to the full NASA TV feed on that, by the way, James. So
that was me. I did that.
Yeah. So yeah. It's me. Hi, I'm the producer. It's me. Very nice.
I changed that visual. So yeah, it's we are just over 20 minutes.
Yep.
I thought somebody was trying to say something on the phone bridge. I can actually see from where I'm standing, Jared, some of that plume burn off. Again, that's completely normal. But I can actually see it, which is interesting to me because although I can see a white.
I think we just lost James's video there. I know as we get closer to the launch, we may start to have some bandwidth problems down there too. More and more news agencies spinning things up. Yeah.
Did you lose me?
Yes, I did.
Stage 2, RP1 load complete. Stage 2, RP1 load complete.
All right. So yeah, there's that big plume of smoke there now, or steam rather. And again, completely normal. This is just a consequence of fueling a rocket with very, 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 very cold propellant. And we're working on getting James back here now. Looks like we got his audio back. Looks like we got his video back. James said the the plume of smoke, steam rather, has gotten rather large here in the last minute.
And it would be alarming if you didn't know that that was normal. But again, what I was starting to do, that's actually the first that I couldn't do. I couldn't really see them getting it 3.5 miles away. So that was actually the first thing I could really see happening and changing down there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and again, it's kind of wild. The rocket's just blowing off some steam, you know. Yeah, we're just watching this get ready. James, what is the what's the vibe around the National Social as we get closer to launch?
More of our National Social participants have taken their chairs out here on the dock that sits adjacent to the press site. I think we are all very happy and celebratory to be here. This is a remarkable place to be. There's still groups of people standing around talking and having a good time. And again, everyone's kind of in their element here as content creators, as new space enthusiasts or old space enthusiasts. We are all jointly going to experiencing this together, and I think that has really bonded a group of people that up until 4 days ago didn't know each other.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been talking to some of the participants tonight, and that's been the consensus from everybody we've talked to so far, is that it's just a tremendous bonding experience. My own experience with NASA Social, or when it was NASA Tweet Up 10 plus years ago at this point, I can absolutely confirm that that's true, and it's just a wonderful thing. James, I see you're taking a measurement with your weather vane there, with your anemometer.
Yeah, we were getting a pretty steady hold at about 5 miles an hour, which we kind of been gusting at earlier, up from the steady of about 2 or 3. More or less still coming in from the east, dying down here a little bit, but it was pretty persistent there for a moment, and I was wondering just how fast that was. Humidity still holding at 70%. I got plenty of dew on my equipment around me here, and my temperature here on the ground at the press site is 72 degrees.
Okay.
Pretty close, I think, to what you got at the.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at some of the, there's a lot of stations around here, as you can imagine. I'm just kind of peeking at that a little bit. I'm actually trying to get zoomed in enough to where I can actually see something. There's just a lot of, there's a lot of weather stations, a lot of
stage 2 last load.
Okay.
Stage 2 fuel.
Yep. So again, we are now we're getting close. I mean, we're starting to get close here now, James, and we're getting to about 15 minutes.
It's hard to believe. The sense of time is really challenging. We've spent a lot of really remarkable hours out here at Kennedy Space Center the last 3 days. It all kind of comes down now to this big moment in time. But, the sense of time is disorienting. Have I been here a day? Have I been here a week? It's hard to say. It's really hard to kind of wrap your mind around the scale of this.
And just all the things that go into this. I mean, these are the kinds of things that you have to plan very far in advance, and launching a rocket, that is. So yeah, we're getting close here. James, we got a really cool story. Something we were talking about earlier is like, what are some of the things that can scrub a launch? One of those things is boats that are in the way. Larry Butler on YouTube shares this anecdote. He was sailing offshore from Miami to Charleston. He was south of the Cape. The cops stopped us and directed us to a safe distance. 2 hours later, the shuttle blasted off right over our mast. That's awesome. But yeah, they got to have the boats out of the way. That's just something they got to do. So really cool story.
Safety.
Absolutely.
We were talking about how good the weather is here, but they're also paying attention to the weather over their trajectory, over their ascent, over their safety corridor. All of that matters.
Yep, absolutely. And again, it's not just at the launch site, right? It's not just here. There's a whole corridor for rescue that stretches well across the Atlantic. That it's got to be right. And so so that's again, there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of things that have to happen. There's a lot of things that have to be correct in order to get a space launch underway. Now I'm hearing some.
I'm glad you're hearing that. I thought it was just me.
Yeah, no, it's not just you. It's definitely some chatter coming along from the phone bank there. Listening in on
Reaching
again.
the point in the evening where I'm slightly regretting not having a sweatshirt. The temperature is still about 71 degrees, but it's just that little breeze.
Yeah,
There you go, 6 miles an hour.
Yeah, and again, James, the temperature around the Space Force Station there, about 69 degrees. So that's pretty close. I mean, that's pretty close to what the measurement
The
is
wind
there.
is definitely going offshore. So
It's west
I'm not
southwest,
a coastal
yeah.
guy. Yeah, I'm not a coastal guy. You're the coastal guy, Charleston weather. But
Mhm.
that would be not a sea breeze, but that would be a land breeze at this hour, right?
Depends on how warm the adjacent water is, and I don't have a good look at that right now. I can find that out, obviously. But yeah, generally speaking,
I'll stick to forecasting for the Piedmont.
you're good. Yeah, I mean, you get 68 over the. Yeah, it is a land breeze. No, because the water temperatures are in the mid 70s there, and we actually did see a little bit of a land breeze front on the radar earlier. That's since dissipated. We're getting close, folks. I mean, we are getting very close now. And again, we are approaching launch at 1:45 a.m. And this is getting the rocket is being fueled. That should be pretty much complete at this point, getting very close to being complete. And again, it's we are now at about 1:30. So in about 12 minutes now. Yes, I still got you, James.
Okay, cool. That was just me testing to see if I can use my camera app also too.
Cool. Yeah, and again, we're you're listening to the voices at this point of Jared Smith and James Brierton from the Carolina Weather Group. We are keeping it right here on the rocket because this is what you're here to watch, right? And this is what we're all here for. And so we're gonna keep it right here. We also have a feed coming in, the communications with that. So some of that scratchiness that you're hearing in the background, we're listening to that. We don't know when those transmissions are going to come in. We're not, there's not, they don't publish a schedule for those things. So there may be times where we just need to be quiet and listen to what they've got going on. But we are getting close to launch now.
Yeah.
About 10 minutes out.
Maybe worth keeping an ear on the NASA TV feed too. They may start moving things over to that on us.
Let me
Yeah, somebody pinched me. I just realized we're 10 minutes out from this thing.
I know. Not long now, man.
No, not long at all.
It's exciting.
Yeah, let me know if you get any audio from that NASA TV feed. Curious to see if there's.
Yeah, I am.
Because of the amount of handoffs that happen here.
Yeah, so I've gone to the NASA TV feed. I've got some. I have it unmuted. Not hearing anything yet, so obviously you'll know when I know, and all of you out there will know at the same time that we know.
Dragon, SpaceX, confirm crew displays are configured for launch.
Dragon, SpaceX, confirm crew displays are configured for launch.
SpaceX Dragon crew displays SpaceX Dragon crew displays are configured for launch.
So yeah, it seems to be audio on both channels.
All right, so I just
SpaceX
went ahead.
copies. On behalf of our entire team at SpaceX, we are honored to have you aboard Dragon Capsule Endeavour today for its next trip to the International Space Station. We wish you a great mission, good luck, Godspeed and enjoy the ride.
And thank you very much for those kind words. We'd like to thank all the trainers, technicians, engineers, decision makers, and planners who have defined our mission ahead and trained us and given the faith in us to execute that mission. And Crew-6 is ready to launch.
Well, those are the words we wanted to hear now, aren't they?
Those are the words we wanted to hear, and I have an update for you from the weather desk. The weather is extremely favorable. That was their word.
Yep. Don't blame the meteorologist.
No, the meteorologists are sitting pretty tonight.
And again,
So let's tell people. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I'm going to just try to explain to people what they're going to see here in T-minus 8 minutes. This rocket is going to blast off here from, I should say lift off. It's going to lift off here at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The Falcon 9 carrying the Crew Dragon capsule named Endeavour is going to lift off. You will see engine separation a few minutes after liftoff. Those engines, those boosters will come back down, land on a SpaceX drone ship if all goes according to plan. Now, the 4 astronauts aboard Crew Dragon will spin around the Earth a couple times over the course of the next 24 hours before docking with the International Space Station. We have 2 Americans on board, 1 astronaut from the United Arab Emirates, and 1 cosmonaut from Russia.
Yep, and yeah, we're getting very close now. It's listening in, not a lot of chatter right now. I think there's a lot of things to get ready for.
Sitting here, Jared. I talked about this the other night on our full weekly show, right? Those come out on Wednesdays. We're talking to NASA investor Tony Rice out of Raleigh. And I said, Tony, what advice do you have for me? He said, when this thing launches, if your camera is not on a tripod, just watch it with your eyes. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch it with my eyes. I told Tony, I fear regret. I fear not photographing it. I'm going to regret that. Then photographing it, I'm going to regret looking through the viewfinder. I'm feeling okay right now, Jared.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling pretty good. This is an incredible experience.
Yeah, and again, that advice is sound. I can't think of any better advice at this point. Truth be told, that's exactly what you want. Is just enjoy it, man. Just enjoy it. It is no words don't do these things justice at that range.
Holly, who you talked to earlier, one of our fellow NASA social participants, a photographer, is running back and
Stage
forth.
1, RP1 load complete.
Are you checking all your cameras, Holly?
Yeah, no, this one just told me that the memory card's corrupted.
Oh, her memory card is corrupted on one of her remote cameras.
No, I hope she has a backup. Sure she does.
I left mine back in the hotel room. I thought I don't need memory cards. Look at that countdown clock. I love this shot. T-minus 6 minutes until liftoff of SpaceX Dragon Crew-6 here from the Kennedy Space Center. That camera's right over there. I can go walk in front of it right now. I won't.
Yeah, I don't think they'll invite you back.
No, I don't think they would.
Yeah, but this thing is
SpaceX, for awareness, we are seeing a T-tab load issue and are troubleshooting. We are currently still go, but have further evaluation before making a final decision. We'll get you a final read before T0.
What?
Okay.
And SpaceX Dragon Car.
Okay, you can't see me right now, but I just kind of put my hands on my knees. And
are you ready?
Well, we're going to find out this issue that they just came across. They're troubleshooting. They're still go for launch, but we will find out. And then they have
Dragon
5 minutes to
configured
figure it
for
out.
terminal count. F9 tanks are pressurizing for strong back retract.
They're continuing with their operations. That's a good sign.
We're finding this from their I'm just gonna bring it to this.
So Jared, we are about 4.5 minutes out. You know, they can go at 145 or they're not going at all.
Strongback is retracting.
Certainly
They're checking
seems
something.
okay. So
I didn't really catch what the issue was. Did you catch?
it was something about maybe like a fuel load issue, something like that. But you can see now, you can see that some of the arms are beginning to retract away from the rocket.
Yeah, they're
here.
still proceeding. They are under the assumption that they're going to be able to get this, whatever it is, resolved in the next 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah, and so we'll hear an update on that shortly. I'm not too concerned about that, but again, you can see that they're proceeding. Here and again, we are getting close to about T-minus 3 minutes.
Now, Jared, assuming this all goes according to plan, after this lifts off, our NASA social people are going to get back on the bus. So if I run off, I don't be offended.
Yeah, and what we're going to do for those of you watching us on WCNC Plus or the Carolina Weather Group networks, what we're going to do is we're going to, about 2 a.m. or so, we're going to transition this into more of a simulcast of ongoing operations with Crew-6 as James gets shuttled back and we kind of wind down our part of this.
Dragon is in terminal count and on internal power.
Yeah, we will keep you posted. This live stream is going to continue to go all night long because we are expecting an update, a briefing to take place in the briefing room, not too far from where I'm standing, later on in the middle of the night.
This is the LD on countdown 1. Hold.
Oh,
We're standing
we are
down
holding.
due to a T-tab ground issue.
All right, so they
back on my knees.
Launch report has started.
Oh, I don't think my group knows here, Jared.
Yeah.
Dragon SpaceX with that call from LD. You are go to step into 5.100 launch scrub.
Wow, we are scrubbing.
5.100 launch scrub.
That is insane.
Oh! You
Can you just say it worked? Can you come back out to my view? I mean, keep the rocket up.
Yeah,
I just feel like my anguish here is.
Yep, and so
was that last transmission that their troubleshooting worked?
No, looks like
okay.
No, it looks like in fact.
Let me say this. Am I disappointed? Of course I am. We got to like T-minus 5 minutes, but safety is first. So if there is something that seems the slightest bit wrong, safety is first. Again, we talked earlier when they were closing the hatch. I had Crew 5, they had to close the hatch twice because they found a foreign object inside the capsule, and it turned out to be a single strand of hair. That's how minute and complex these things are.
Yeah, that's I'm trying to get some more information over here on exactly what went wrong.
I think we'll just. I'm going to stand here as long as they let me stand here. I am on the invite of NASA, right? So if they tell me I got to get back on the bus, I got to go back on the bus.
Yeah. So it is a. Okay, so it is. So what they're talking about here is that they couldn't.
That's 145.
Yep. They could not load. Basically, the starter is not working. The thing to actually start it, they couldn't load that. So the starter isn't working.
Like the starter in your car?
In a sense.
Okay. So a lot of the NASA social people are gathered in a circle right now. I'm guessing if they didn't already get the memo, they got the memo now. I know 4 individuals that have to be the most disappointed. I'm sure relieved, like we are, that if there was something that wasn't working, they called it off. But you know those astronauts, they wanted to go to.
And Dragon LD on countdown 1. At this time, our offloads are underway. Vehicle is safe and proceeding nominally with offload. Expecting about a 50-minute offload.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to let me stay
SpaceX Dragon copy is about a 50-minute offload. And we'll be sitting here waiting. Thanks.
He sounds thrilled.
He sounds, yeah.
Yeah. So
I think just to really try to articulate this, it's the timing, right?
Yeah.
Everything was going so well. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the weather tomorrow is not looking so great over the ascent corridor.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about this. If they don't launch tomorrow, I don't know the exact time tomorrow, but 1:30-ish Tuesday, they will take a break on Wednesday, and then they'll be back during that post-midnight Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, I think I got that right. So we saw this a little bit during Artemis, and they'll do it here too. They'll kind of go like 3 days, and then they'll take a break because it is fatiguing on everybody.
Yeah.
So they will give the astronauts a break. They will give the ground crews a break, the launch controllers a break.
Yeah. They essentially couldn't get the ignition
let me say this
fluid
before
in.
I go. Here's what I was planning to say if this rocket had gone off tonight. Something about how marvelous and impressive it was. But I really wanted to, if I could find the words, talk about how, despite all the conflict in the world, all the issues, there is hope for mankind. We can do this. And that proof is in space flight. It's in the technology that is developed. It's in the science research that is shared, the cooperative nature. We have 4 people sitting right now atop this rocket, built by private industry and being flown for public research. And those 4 people are from 3 different countries. So regardless of what tensions are out there, there is living proof that humankind can do amazing things. And we can take a lot of inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. And keep in mind, they're going to a laboratory that was built by multiple nations and is, and maintained by multiple nations, and has had, numerous, different nationalities on board: American, Canadian, Italian, Russian. There's just so, again, there's no borders up there. It was, that's just people.
Yeah.
Floating in space.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately,
I am seeing some movement here on the ground that probably tells me my load up on the bus is imminent. So as Jared mentioned, NASA TV coverage will resume here on WCNC Plus and the Carolina Weather Group. And we hope to continue to follow SpaceX NASA Crew-6. And so if this is the type of stuff you like, please come on back. I don't know that I will be standing here, but we have so much great content yet to come from the Carolina Weather Group. We saw so much out here at Kennedy Space Center. I would have loved to see a rocket go off, but I have so much more I want to share with you coming up. So please find us wherever you are, and we look forward to bringing more to that. Jared,
yep.
To you, to Peter, this has been a once-in-a-lifetime weekend for me, and I hope our viewers have enjoyed it as well. And so I will sign off here from Kennedy Space Center and send it back over to you.
Sounds good. Thank you, James. And sorry I didn't get to see a launch, but I'm still very glad that you got to experience what you got to experience. You saw some things that a lot of people don't get to see, and a lot of people will never get to see with their own eyes. And it's quite a thing, that's for sure. So what we're going to do here, everybody, is James is he's going to go ahead and get everything together, get ready to head back on the bus and leave the complex for the night. Again, what has happened, what's transpired here is that the Crew-6 mission, with about 4 minutes to go, T-3 around that time, was scrubbed. The launch was scrubbed due to a technical issue with a ground system that loads up basically the ignition fluid, so to speak. It's a very general, very, kind of like generic way of putting it, but the ignition fluid, so to speak, had a problem this evening getting loaded up. That the ignition fluid, you can't go. That's just the way it is. And not able to resolve it in time. And so the launch has scrubbed. They're offloading all the fuel, and the crew will be coming off the ship. And there you go. So and so it goes with human space flight, any space flight sometimes. These are the kinds of things that happen. They'll come back out and try again tomorrow. Again, the weather is looking a little bit less favorable tomorrow. As far as, the not so much in Florida itself, but along the corridor, along the ascent corridor, there still is, it's important for the weather to remain good for several reasons. Obviously, the rocket continuing to go up, you can run into some problems with, cloud cover there. Certain types of clouds you can inadvertently spark lightning by flying through some of those kinds of clouds. That's just one of many things. There's a recovery corridor there in case something goes wrong. Again, like we've been saying all night, a lot has to go right. Everything has to go right for a space flight to go. And it is actually somewhat miraculous that we are able to do it. So what we're going to do here at this point is that we're going to go ahead and send you back to the NASA TV feed. We are expecting a briefing overnight. If you want to hang out here, that's great. We're going to be on, again, we'll be streaming across Carolina Weather Group into the night, bringing you basically simulcast of NASA TV. So hopefully, we'll get some answers as far as what went wrong, and we'll probably learn, with any luck, we'll learn what the next steps are. If we try to go tomorrow, see what happens. But in any event, thanks you all so much for watching. We want to thank our National Social participants who came around and shared their experiences with us. That was really fantastic. And again, thanks to James for all his work and letting us in and really showing us some amazing things behind the scenes there for sure. And we're going to have much more on this in the coming weeks here on the Carolina Weather Group in the weekly show, Wednesday nights at 9:00 Eastern. So more to come from the Kennedy Space Center. But for now, Jared Smith here in Charleston on behalf of Peter and up in Jersey, who's been turning around these edits like crazy, and James, obviously, Kennedy Space Center. Thank you all so much for watching, and we're going to kick it over now to NASA TV.